have won 50 games. The last meeting a couple of years ago, Washington State did win this 33-27. No home team has really had any kind of a win streak.
No, the last 4 games, as a matter of fact, have been split 2-2, with both teams winning on the road. Neither team winning on their home turf.
Well, Adam Holliday is going to be kicking it off for Washington State. Herschel Dennis is back for USC. And Sultan McCullough kicking against a pretty stiff wind, and he's going to boot it out of the end zone. That's a pretty stout kick into the wind. USC will take over. The stats say they're last in the Pac-10 offensively, but don't be fooled. They're potent, and they're led by that man.
I'm Carson Palmer from USC. I grew up in Laguna Hills, California. I'm a public policy and management major. We need to come out and get the running game going so we can get the defense off our backs a little bit so we can throw the ball.
What he really has to do, though, Charles Davis, is get into a rhythm early. We saw it at Kansas State. He didn't do it, and they lost.
No, we're not talking about a rhythm like Ricky Ricardo and the Club Tropicana. We're talking about a good offensive flow, getting the play calls in and getting positive yardage on first down.
Empty backfield, first pass, incomplete, intended for Kareem Kelly. Let's take a look at the rest of the USC offense. At running back, keep an eye on Sultan McCullough. He is getting the majority of the carries right now at wide receiver. Kerry Colbert, he has stepped up as the go-to guy from a group of very speedy wide receivers. And on the line, Norm Kapnick has played a number of different positions. He anchors in the middle, but the budding star is a freshman, Winston Justice at right tackle. Sultan McCullough only in the backfield. Palmer lifts it out of the flat. Pass is complete. 1st and 10 USC. As we take a look at that Washington State defense, they'll only be as good as their defensive line. And as we take a look at that defensive line, Ryan Long and Jeremy Williams anchor a group of 7 that will play in the front 4. And the linebackers, a group of Genitone, Davis, and Davis, they have to step up today. And in the secondary, Marcus Trufant, he is their best cover. Palmer's second pass completed to Chad Pearson. He'll go 3 for 3. Throws it out, almost picked off. Dangerous pass. Marcus Trufant got his hands on it. Intended for Kerry Colbert. Well, it's obvious their strategy right away. USC wants to give Washington State what Washington State's going to give them.
And we see Marcus Trufant, number 45, sitting inside. Excellent break and drive. Notice how he planted the back leg, brought the rest of the body with him, drove through the football, causing the incompletion. Excellent coverage man, Marcus Trufant. And USC will have to challenge him all day long. But they also hope to have any type of success. Pearson and McCullough now in a moving eye. We'll give it to McCullough, left side, big hole, crosses the 35 up to the 36-yard line. Pickup of about 3 on the play. Mawali Davis, the senior out of Oakland, California, comes up with a stop. What I find interesting already, Ron, in this ball game is Washington State is going to be playing their 4-3 defense, trying to use their linebackers to try and heat up USC by blitzing on offense. Carson Palmer said they wanted to get the running game going, but they've come out throwing the football. You see what they've done on 3rd down? 3rd and 6. Palmer, no pressure, into the flat, and it's complete to Kerry Colbert, the junior out of Oxnard, California. That'll be good for another first down. You know, Carson Palmer has taken a lot of criticism over the year, but you look at him, he throws a good ball. Throws a good ball, and here's where USC thinks they have an advantage with the size of their receivers. Kerry Colbert's 6'1", a little bit over 200 pounds. Jason David on the coverage, number 29 for Washington State, is only 5'8", 173. They'd like to attack him all day long. Well, we saw the USC offense very conservative against Kansas State. Totally different this game. Now Sultan McCullough into the lineup. He is on the near side. Empty backfield. Right. Empty again. 4 wide receivers set. Palmer uses his safety valve. No gain on the play. It's McCullough. Trufant right there to greet him. Zone coverage out of Washington State on that play. That's why Marcus Trufant was able to be in coverage against Sultan McCullough, the tailback who was split out wide, so they had an empty set, meaning no backs in the backfield. USC has mentioned they wanted their running game to get better as the season has gone on, but right now they have to use the pass game. They've been balanced all season long, but they think the pass game is their key to running the football better, trying to loosen up the Washington State defense.
McKenzie now splits wide to the left. Washington State blitzing. Palmer steps up, lets it fly, has a man, incomplete. Intended for Kerry Colbert. He got one hand on it. He was isolated with Jason David, the cornerback. And that's something I think Washington State has to be careful of. They don't want David one-on-one with anyone.
No, it's only because of his height. USC has receivers all over 6 feet tall except for Kareem Kelly. Good job by USC's offensive line. Plenty of time for Palmer to throw the ball. Just about 1 foot too long for Colbert to make the catch.
Now Mike Williams, the very talented freshman out of Tampa, Florida, number 1, is checked into the lineup. Kelly joins Williams far to the left. 5 defensive backs. Palmer struggles, throws, complete to the 50-yard line. Down to the 49-yard line. Kareem Kelly with a catch. Took a couple of shots, but he'll be about 5 yards short, and we do have a penalty flag right at the 50. Well, our referee tonight, Chuck McFerrin.
Big gang tackle by Washington State. Possibility of someone getting to the mask at the tail end of the play. They made a nice stand. They certainly hope not.
Well, you called it.
So Mike Price in our drop-down box, super shot box. Look at the end. This is what coaches want. They want gang tackling, but you see right there as he was pulling him down, trying to make the tackle.
On the defense. Automatic first down.
And it was a 15-yard call because of the severity and how he was pulled down. There's also a 5-yard call if you get your hand on the mask and release it without twisting the person down or twisting his head. A 15-yard call, a good one by the officials.
Now, they wanted to force USC to drive the ball. USC's doing it, but they're doing it successfully. Palmer looking for pay dirt for Williams, incomplete. Marcus Trufant right with him step for step.
What you like early out of Norm Chow, the offensive coordinator for USC, is taking his shot downfield. He doesn't want to be totally conservative. And they're going with the freshman, Mike Williams, number 1, 6 feet 5 inches tall against the best cover guy, Marcus Trufant. Trufant won that battle, but he's going to be in for one all day long. Excellent job by USC up front, pass blocking against Washington State's blitz.
Now USC's switching formations. Pearson and McCullough in the eye. McCullough, right side, great move inside the 25, down to the 20-yard line. Trufant had to make the tackle, the senior out of Tacoma, Washington. And not before another first down for USC.
What a great move by McCullough on Ira Davis, number 12, the linebacker. This is a play the linebackers for Washington State have to make. Boom, right there. Excellent move by McCullough. That allowed him to get into the secondary all the way to what we call the third level, the defensive backs. Once you get past the linebackers, which is the second level, open space for McCullough, and he took advantage of it.
1st and 10, ball on the 21-yard line. They take the pitch. Palmer looking for Williams. Steps up, throws it to no one. Williams started a break from the pack. I'll tell you, we talked about Pete Carroll telling us that they had to get Carson Palmer in rhythm. I would have to think he has a rhythm right now.
I think he has a rhythm, and I think he has a good feel for the game. Watch how close he is to the sideline. Very close, right there. He did not step out of bounds. Good call by the official. He slipped past there, number 17, D.D. Achamalu. Excellent job by Palmer staying in bounds.
We're going to try the right side again. McCullough breaking free inside the 10, down to the 5-yard line. Sultan McCullough, the fastest tailback ever in USC history. Here's Craig Sager.
Well, just before the game, Norm Chow was at midfield with Carson Palmer, and they were talking about the game plan. They saw that there was very little wind, and if there was a wind, it was in the direction of where they're going now. They decided that time that they're going to open it up right from the start, and obviously Carson Palmer does have that rhythm you're talking about. Huh?
That's right, Craig. There's Norm Chow right in the middle. Great success at BYU. First and goal from the 6 for the Trojans. McCullough inside. Touchdown, USC. Six yards on the touchdown run by Sultan McCullough, his 4th rushing touchdown of the year. Mike Price has to be concerned because the pass set up the run.
And exactly what USC wanted on their first series. Just what you mentioned, the pass setting up the run, because the pass loosened up Washington State's defensive front. And they found big holes to run through when they did call the running plays. Ryan
Killeen, who won the kicking chores last week, or at least solidified it last week. Perfect now in point after, score of 4, and USC strikes first. 11:27 to go in quarter number 1. The men of Troy lead by a touchdown.
Welcome back to Pullman, Washington, where USC leads Washington State early 7-0. Watch number 1, Mike Williams, the wide receiver. You want to get on the field, block someone. Watch what he does to Eric Coleman, the defensive safety. Occupies him just enough for Sultan McCullough to power his way into the end zone. That's one way to get on the field as a true freshman.
And we want to thank Allstate for providing tonight's goalpost cam. Allstate, you're in good hands. Well, Darling and Sammy Moore, DeVar Darling and Sammy Moore standing inside their own 5-yard line awaiting the kick. There's DeVar Darling, the transfer from Florida State. He has really made an impression here, kicking with the wind. Darling will take a seat. They'll begin 1st and 10 on their 20. The Washington State offense, they run a one-back spread, but they want a big play, and it starts with their quarterback.
Jason Gessler from Honolulu, Hawaii, broadcast communication major. And first series today, we just want to go out there and establish our offense, kind of keep them off guard of different formations, different plays, so they can't just come out there and tee off on us.
Well, the key, though, is his health. We noticed in the tape last week's game, he wasn't throwing the long ball all that effectively, although he did pass for 400-plus yards, but it didn't look like he had the zip on it.
He wasn't as comfortable trying to stretch out, throwing the ball with bad ribs.
They start out with John Tippins, who's senior out of Santa Monica, California, up to about the 24-yard line. Mike Pollard made the first hit. And the rest of the offense for Washington State, they are solid. John Tippins, we just saw him make the carry. Wide receiver, DeVar Darling, the Florida State transfers. He leads in receptions. And on the line, Derek Roach at right guard. He is a Lombardi watch list candidate. He's this week's big nasty, by the way. And Calvin Armstrong will be at that left tackle spot. They lost both players on the left side of their offensive line in that Ohio State game. Jonathan Smith now in the backfield. Gessler looks right, left, throws right, complete to Smith. He's got some running room. Kenichi Udeze finally drags him from behind, but not before he crosses the 40-yard line up to the 42.
Oftentimes you hear about what they call a crack screen. Watch from the right side of your screen, because they throw the screen pass, they throw it to the running back, but the wide receiver cracks back on the inside linebacker. Excellent job blocking by DeVar Darling, number 1. Allow Jonathan Smith right there. Matt Grudegood, number 6. Excellent job blocking. Both sets of wide receivers blocking very well today already in this game.
Pickup of 16 on the play. They're going to spot it at about the 39. 5 wide receivers set for Gessler. Here comes the pressure, steps up. Throws it into the flat, complete up to the 45 to the 46-yard line. Scott Lundy, the junior out of Vancouver, Washington. Well, the USC defense, number 1 in points, number 1 in pass defense, number 1 in total defense. The line, Mike Patterson, just a sophomore, leads the team in sacks, 5.5. And a linebacker spot, Melvin Champ Simmons. He was once a starter right here at Washington State. And, of course, the USC defense led by Troy Polamalu, the very talented All-American safety that Gessler is going to be keeping an eye on all day. They keep it on the ground with Tippins. Inside the 45, down to about the 42-yard line. 23 yards on the pickup.
This is a combination of getting a good block and also good hard running. Mike Pollard, number 45 for USC, actually tackled the wrong man as he went for Tippins, and he just kept running the ball upfield before he was ridden out of bounds by Darrell Rideau, number 22. Tippins came into the game averaging 5.7 yards a carry. That won't hurt one bit.
He is the most solid running back they have out of the core of junior college running backs that they recruited. A little play action. Gesser takes a shot. Incomplete. Jason Gesser was leveled on that play by Matt Grudegood, the linebacker.
And if Grudegood doesn't get to him, we probably have a big play for Washington State because it's a misdirection. You see Roche, number 77, blocking on Sean Cody. And as Grudegood gets to Gesser, he's not able to set his feet and deliver a strike because he had Jerome Riley, number 84, on a deep drag across the middle, wide open. And you see how Jason Gesser's played through a number of injuries. Broken thumb, concussion, and broken hand. He didn't tell anyone about the broken hand last year before the Sun Bowl game, and this year it was a bad rib.
Now Jermaine Green's going to get his first carry. Cuts back. Fights his way back to the line of scrimmage. May have picked up one on the play. Grudegood and Champ Simmons in on the stop. There's a good look at Champ Simmons. He was a starter here at Washington State, was involved in an altercation. He was very disappointed that those who he say jumped him was not charged. He decided to transfer, be closer to home.
And came back home to Los Angeles, where playing for USC as a senior after sitting out last season, but we saw him come in yesterday. Spent a lot of time with his old teammates. Happy to see them. Again, 5 wide receiver set.
On 3rd and 9, SC's been very tough to get the first down on, intended for Jerome Riley, incomplete. Here's Ernie Johnson.
Thank you, Ron Thuman. Back here at 27-25 to stay unbeaten. Ron?
All right, Ernie, that's a great win for the Bulldogs. Drew Dunning now attempting a 48-yard field goal. Good snap into the wind. Good. That ties his longest field goal here at Washington State this year. 48 yards, and the Cougars are on the board. An exciting first quarter. 6.5 gone by. It's a 7-3 USC lead. 7-3 is our score, but SC may be in a little bit of problems because Troy Polamalu, their All-American safety, hurt on that last series. They're working on that right leg.
He made the play on Jerome Riley, and you see his right leg. You'll see how it bends there. You wonder if he hyperextended it as he tried to make the tackle. Ball was gone, laid a little hit on Riley. See, I get a little overextended on the right leg. Look at that.
Yeah.
The way it's bent in that position, you just hope that this young man is okay. The last time we saw USC, Ronald Nunn, their starting cornerback, seemingly had almost the same type of a look, and he ended up missing the rest of that ball game and consequently the season after they examined him. A lot of consternation on the USC sideline because he runs their defense.
He's also an exceptional young man. We spent some time with him a couple of weeks ago. He is an outstanding human being, along with being a great football player. Now Drew Dunning's 3rd consecutive field goal, 2nd consecutive from 48, makes it a 7-3 game. Urso Dennis, 8 yards deep. And he's going to take a knee. Now, Big Play Saturday is presented by T-Mobile and Discover Card. And here at Martin Stadium, I'm Ron Thulan, joined by Charles Davis, Greg Sager, and Aaron Andrews. It's a beautiful night at Martin Stadium in Pullman. 7-3 is our score. 8:30 to play in quarter number 1 as both of these teams have the Rose Bowl in their sights, and they both think they've got a shot at this Pac-10 title. Washington State picked to win it. Last year, they were picked 10 in the conference. Mike Price said to the writers, you finally got it right. Carson Palmer continues to throw the football. Brandon Hancock, the true freshman out of Fresno, California. This is a young man that's got an incredible future. He's strong, he's got great hands. That's his 2nd reception of his collegiate career. He even came to school early so he can get that spring practice going.
And what I think the USC coaches noticed, Norm Chow and his offensive staff, on the first series, they were able to sneak Chad Pearson, number 34, the fullback, out into the flat for an easy completion. And he doesn't catch the ball nor get upfield as well as Brandon Hancock. So they probably put Hancock in to run a very similar play.
Kelly and Williams now wide to the left. Colbert near side. Palmer, a little bit of pressure, dumps it off to Sultan McCullough. Over the 40, up to about the 42-yard line. That'll be close to a first down. We'll call it a pickup of 10. Well, last week, the EA Sports pre-play predicted Washington State would win in a close game, and in our fan poll, you agreed with 30% predicting the Cougars would win. So far this year, EA Sports has a record of 1-1. The fans, sorry fans, you're 0-2. Stay tuned to see who's correct this week.
Fans going to try and cut their losses this week, right?
I think they would. So much for the balanced offense. How about 11 passes so far today, 4 rushes for USC.
I think we're seeing a new definition of balance for USC. If we were to believe Norm Chow, and we have no reason to doubt him, he told us yesterday they would use the pass to loosen things up to run the ball, and that's exactly what they've done today.
It was a first down, 1st and 10. They keep it on the ground, and this time Sultan McCullough is wrapped up by Jeremy Williams, the junior out of Spokane, Washington. You gotta love Jeremy Williams. Here is a guy that played with a broken leg, had surgery, has a broken thumb now, not bothering him.
Great play on the inside because he just lined up over Norm Katnick, number 62, the center, threw him aside and was into the backfield. You hear a lot about USC's defensive line liking to play. They like to play upfield, you know, penetrating in the gaps. That's the type of play Jeremy Williams just made for Washington State.
Loss of 2, 2nd and 12. Palmer seeing the pressure, and he is going to be dropped. Ryan Long led the charge for his 5th sack of the year. Also, Fred Shavy's coming in. That is only the 7th sack allowed by the Trojan line.
Yeah, there weren't many people who didn't get a piece of this sack. You see Shavy's number 6. There was Long over the top. Also involved in the play, Achalanu, number 17. Carson Palmer with the fake. They run a lot of misdirection. This time the defensive line for Washington State wasn't buying it. It's almost as if they said in the huddle, let's all meet at the quarterback. And they did.
Now, Pete wants to know what happened on that play. That's something that hasn't happened a lot this year. 3rd down and 23 for the Trojans. Looking for Williams in the flat, and they have him. Tries to make a move, gets up to the 38, but Trufant was all over him. Bohannon came in to help out from the free safety spot, and USC is stopped.
Nice call by Bill Doba, the defensive coordinator for Washington State. 3rd and forever. They decided to play a cover 2, a 2-deep zone, roll up the corners, make them hard corners to run underneath the receivers. Let them throw it in front of you. Just make sure you make the tackle.
Tom Malone set to kick it away. Marcus Trufant, number 2 in the Pac-10 in punt returns. Washington State leads the conference in punt returns this year. They're coming in from the left side. Malone gets it away. Trufant has to scurry back to the 15. Look for the seam. Up to the 25-yard line, a return of 10 after the 46-yard kick. 5:27 to play in the first quarter in Pullman. 7-3 USC. Well, the big question is, will Troy Polamalu come back into the lineup this defensive series? He is on the sideline.
They need him. They need his leadership. Number 27, Jason Leach, is his backup. Came into the game with 6 tackles and an interception. But as they say, he's no Troy Polamalu. That's the tough part for USC.
That is 4 wide receivers set now for Washington State. Let's see if they go after him. They're going deep down the middle of the field, intended for Bush. Penalty flag is thrown. Now, we saw Gesser kind of moving the arm on that, but he's throwing into a wind, and it just kind of started floating, and Darrell Rideau is the culprit on the infraction.
Actually triple whammy for Jason Gesser. 1, throwing into the wind. 2, bad ribs. 3, bad elbow. But he's bailed out because Mike Bush is 6 feet 6 inches tall, a former basketball player. Darrell Rideau is 5'8" and a sprinter. That's a mismatch.
That's right.
And once Bush got the position inside Rideau, he had no opportunity to make a play other than to go over the top of him, thus the pass interference.
Now, if you're Pete Carroll, you'd have to be a little aware right now for a possible trick play. You just got the penalty. You've got some momentum if you're Washington State. Are they going to run a little trick play? Now they're swinging out to to the left side. It's complete to Jerome Riley.
Stop number 84, Jerome
His
Riley.
13th catch of the year. Here's Craig Seger.
Well, on the replay, we saw what happened to Troy Polamalu. He came to the sidelines. The trainers and the doctor staff evaluated him. They felt that the knee was stable. However, he is still in pain, and he is having trouble walking back and forth. So they told him to walk on the sidelines, and if he doesn't have pain, he can go back in. Ron?
And guys, here's where the weather plays a factor, too, because it's going to be hard for him to loosen up as the temperature continues to drop today.
Gesser, a little three-step drop, floats it, looking for Bush, has him inside the 35-yard line. And they picked on Jason Leach, Troy Polamalu's backup. Well, he gives up about 7 inches to him. Pick up a 27 on the play.
Unwritten rule. Watch the tight end come here and Bush come here. Jason Gesser has an opportunity. Double seam route. He decides to go to Bush on the outside. Excellent decision before the tackle's made. You see as he gets to the outside of Rideau. Rideau was playing a short zone but never got his hands on Bush to redirect him and knock him off his route.
Bush also a 1,000-point score for their basketball team. Here comes the reverse. To Darling. Inside the 30, down to the 25-yard line. The ball is loose, but I think they're going to mark it dead.
They are calling it down.
Now, you knew the trick play was coming. You just felt it. They picked up 8 on the play.
And don't think it'll be the last one by any stretch.
No, it won't.
Of the imagination. This is the 3rd carry of the year for DeVar Darling. He has scored on a reverse. First play of the season, actually, when they ran a reverse against Nevada. Now he's back with his 3rd carry of the year. Ball's down. They made a definite call on it. On the field.
2nd down and 8. They fake it to Tippett. Swing it out to Riley. Cuts back to the middle of the field. It'll be close to the first down. Mike Patterson, the nose tackle, coming up with a stop. And it is the first down.
What's nice for Washington State right now, they have their full complement of receivers back. I understand Mike Bush has a little ding with maybe a knee or an ankle, but Jerome Riley has fought off the hamstring. He's back. DeVar Darling last week, all 3 over 100 yards of reception.
Gesser throws it out of the flat. Pass is complete. A one-handed catch by Troy Bieneman, the true freshman out of Mountain View, California. That's a pretty dandy little catch by the tight end.
Nifty, as they would say, for the big fella. And remember, he's been out for the last few weeks. Had an injury, had a shoulder problem. Right there on the sideline, stayed in, and you notice the official all over the play, watching it the whole way. Excellent one-hand catch, got his balance, got upfield for extra yardage. He got back healthy this week. They put him right back in the starting lineup.
On 1st and goal from the 9, straight ahead, it's Tippins. Inside the 5, down to the 3. You know, you look at that Washington State offensive line. These guys are big. They average about 6'6", 303. Their backups are 6'5", 295. Pete Carroll right now is losing the battle at the point of attack.
And that's not something they expected with their defensive line, which has been playing so well. But credit to Mike Price and Mike Levensteller, the offensive coordinator of Washington State. All the misdirection and spreading them out has had an effect on USC's defensive line.
2nd and goal for the 3. Looking for Bush. Got it! Touchdown!
We talked about the small corners who are playing today. That's supposed to be Darryl Rideau's coverage, but Marcel Allman, number 8, is in the ball game. He's 6 feet tall. Sounds like a good height, right? But Mike Bush is 6'6". He should win 99% of those jump balls.
They love that play when they get in the red zone. The extra point is good. And he uses his height to his advantage, no question. Watch this.
And last week, guys, Oregon State never got into the red zone against USC. So you had a defense feeling very confident. Beautiful throw by Gesser, but he knew who he had out there. Mike Bush at 6'6", but a beautiful catch. And yes, he's a basketball player. Over 1,000 points in his career, and Ron, you saw him play. Guy had game on the hardwood too, didn't he?
I tell you, Coach Paul Graham, the great basketball coach here at Washington State, is going to miss him. He's finished his basketball eligibility. Out of the 84 games, he started 77 of them, and he had 148 steals. This is only his second year of football since high school. This guy's going to be playing on Sundays.
Yeah, and amazing how they picked him up for football too, isn't it? He was the kind of guy for a while. Washington State was refurbishing their offices in football, so they were in a local dorm, a nearby dorm, and apparently Mike Bush was showing up every day while the coaches were watching film and kind of watching over their shoulder. And Mike Price finally said to him, jokingly, "Hey, you want to try some football?" And little did he know that he did. And thus they got Mike Bush to come out. He, as you said, he's got a chance to play on the next level, and he's a heck of a ball player. And boy, you never know what you're going to get out of just a simple comment, do you?
No, I mean, he was just standing there in the doorway watching him.
He said night after night, he'd just show up.
Great touch pass, though, from that man, Jason Gesser. Gesser's 12th touchdown pass. Holiday to kick it away, a line drive end over end. Herschel Dennis converging. He is tied up, and he's going to be dropped at the 15. And we've got a personal foul penalty flag thrown. Holiday, the kicker, I think. Well, there's a couple of guys going down. It looked like Curtis Nettles was coming down to cover that, and he just got blasted by Mike Pollard. And they were well off the play. This is losing your composure.
After the run in, dead ball, personal foul on the kicking team.
Oh, they're calling it on the kicking team.
I think they've got it wrong. They've got to switch that.
Return team.
There you
Half
go.
the distance.
Just got a little confused. And here's the thing. It was one that didn't need to happen. Mike Ross was well behind the play, probably 20 to 25 yards away from where the play was occurring, and he hit Curtis Nettles, the special teams captain, who wears number 18 for Washington State. So all that Mike Ross did by making what he thought was an aggressive play was put his offense further in the hole. It's not an intelligent play and one they need to avoid.
Especially on the road.
You can't start your offense deeper than what they were starting already.
Because USC was rattled by the noise at Kansas State 2 weeks ago, and it is loud here tonight. They keep it on the ground. Justin Fargas, his first carry. Well, fans, do you have a question for us, i.e. Charles? Simply send an email, and we'll select one question to answer later in the game. Send your question to tbsbigplay@aol.com. Please include your name and where you're from. And the people who pick these plays have every one of my friends' names, so guys, don't even bother.
Don't even bother, right?
Don't even try.
All I know is you better try and stump us because you can't stump Aaron.
That's right.
That I know.
That's exactly right. Pickup of 2 on the play, 2nd and 8. Play action into the flat. Passes intended for Williams, and he makes the grab. Mike Williams, covered by Marcus Trufant. Here is a young man that really struggled in the Kansas State game. 4 drops in the game, but he's come back the last couple of weeks.
What a great route he runs to. Notice how he pushes to the inside, gets to the outside. Trufant, excellent coverage, came to the inside arm rather than the upfield arm. You come inside and underneath, you better make sure you have the football. Mike Williams showing good hands. I don't think he's dropped one since Kansas State.
I don't think he has either. Picked up 20 on that play. Fargas from the eye, and he'll try the right side. Plenty of running room, looking for one block over the 40 up to the 42-yard line, and Eric Coleman had to come up from that free safety spot to make the stop, and not before a first down. Well, let's take you back a couple of weeks in Manhattan, Kansas. Palmer on the money on this throw, and I tell you, it's just one of those nights.
Well, when you're talking about a true freshman, as Mike Williams is, from Tampa, Florida, came in with plenty of hype, and it was heralded and justified. But then last week he came back. That was a grow-up game, Kansas State. Because he came back last week and showed that he matured, and he's one of their go-to receivers.
4 receptions last week. Palmer now looking, throwing, incomplete. But you know what was impressive about that, and I think you and I got the same sense. Talking to Carson Palmer yesterday, we said, listen, you know, you had to be a little disappointed in Mike Williams. No, I went up to him and said, you're going to have those kind of games your freshman year. He took the senior leadership role with Mike Williams after that Kansas State game.
And remember, Carson Palmer has been through the fire so many times himself. Remember how many times he's been, had bad games and people were disappointed in his performance. He took that and translated that to the freshmen and said, listen, this is going to happen when you're in the spotlight. Let's just bounce back and play better. And Mike Williams has certainly done that.
Now it's Pargas and McKenzie in the backfield. McKenzie moves to the near side. 3 wide receivers. Here comes the blitz by the Cougars. Intended for Alex Holmes, the big tight end. Off his hands, incomplete. Here's Craig Sager.
Well, Norm Chow also helped to build up the confidence of Mike Williams. He kiddingly went up to him and said, hey, guy, this isn't the NFL. We can't fire you. He said, you have great hands. We know from basketball. You're not afraid of contact. Let's go out and practice and not drop any. They had a couple of great practice sessions. They built up his confidence, and they said it was simply a matter of not concentrating. And as you mentioned, he hasn't dropped one since.
And now Williams will go wide to the left. 3rd down and 10.
And he's isolated with Jason David, who is the smallest defensive back.
And that's who Palmer's looking for. Throws it on a go. Incomplete, intended for Kerry Colbert, who's yet to come up with a catch tonight.
Not for lack of trying, though. Again, they caught Washington State in a 2-deep zone. Jason David playing the short zone, and they tried to split between him as the cornerback and the safety playing off of the hash deep. And once again, the ball is just a little bit too far for Colbert to bring in.
Well, Tom Malone's first punt covered 46 yards, did an excellent job. There you see Trufant on his 23-yard line, and he is playing way up. Not giving Malone a whole lot of credit. Malone's kicking with the wind. They may be thinking USC's trying something special. Nope. Beautiful kick, high spiraling kick. Trufant will field it inside the 15, runs out at the 14, a 45-yard kick by Malone. Nice job. Troy Polamalu continues to work out the problem with his knee. Hey, check out what's coming to TBS.
Mel Gibson, Jodie Foster, James Garner.
Favorite actor, James Bumgarner.
That's right.
James Garner.
Now, didn't James Garner play Maverick in the TV series?
Yes, he did.
Now he had to move to a different character, but stayed in the movie.
Washington State, Gesser throwing it into the flat, incomplete, intended for Riley. Those are the passes that we were wondering if Jason Gesser would be able to complete. With that rib injury, that's the type of pass. He's going a long way, throwing that ball a long way, and you have to wonder if it hurts.
Yeah, and we talked about it a couple times already. It's the ribs, but also Mike Price told us he's got a bad elbow. So it's
right.
A double shot for him, and throwing into the wind. That's a hard combination. You throw a long pass, a long out pass, because you need to put zip on it.
They try to draw to Jonathan Smith, nothing doing. He is hit and goes back as we're inside of the final 10 seconds of the opening quarter.
Wow, what a play by Omar Nazel, number 56, the defensive lineman. Just grabbed him in the back of the shoulder pads, that gap in the back of the shoulder pads between that and the helmet, and yanked him down.
The Pac-10 Defensive Player of the Week, Omar Nazel, and that's the way the first quarter will end. USC scores on their first drive, and Washington State comes back with 10 unanswered points. We're done with one. The Cougars. Beautiful campus, Washington State University, part of the Palouse. How about that? Got all the history on it, too.
And the Palouse is a region here.
That's right, 4,000 square miles of rolling hills. 3rd down, an important one for Washington State. Gesser's pass, dangerous, incomplete, intended for Colin Henderson, but USC has been stout on 3rd down for their opponents. For the season, only 13% have been successful. Last 2 games, it's down to 11%.
Yeah, just 3 of 27 coming into today in the last 2 ball games. And I think I mentioned it earlier. Last week, Oregon State never even got into the red zone against USC.
And now they're going to have to kick it away. Greg Carlson is going to stand at his own 37-yard line. Kyle Bosler, the redshirt freshman out of Elma, Washington, standing on his goal line. Here comes the pressure. Beautiful kick. Fielded at the 36. Penalty flags are down. And he will be dropped at the 46-yard line. About a 51-yard kick, 10 on the return. And we've got a roughing the kicker call.
Now they're going to get him for running into the kicker or roughing the kicker. I noticed he said personal foul.
Personal foul.
So, that's a bigger play if it's going to be a personal foul. And you see as he rolls in, and it's number 29, Mike Ross, who earlier got the personal foul for blocking behind the play when he didn't need to. Now, let's see how he determines the yardage on
foul.
this.
Roughing the kicker, hitting the plant foot of the kicker on the defense. 15 yards, first down.
See, from where I am on this one, that's running into the kicker.
That's exactly right.
That's not roughing. But the reason they call it roughing because of his explanation. His plant foot was down. So they will take great pains to protect the punters and the kickers the same way they protect quarterbacks. That's why first down Washington State, Kennedy Pola, the special teams coach, having a nice word with Mike Ross. It's his second big error today.
Now a big break for Washington State. Pump fake. Gesser going deep, looking for Bush again. Incomplete. Down inside the 35-yard line. Bush was covered by Darrell Rideau, the senior out of Long Beach.
Let's give some credit to Darrell Rideau. We've talked about his size being a disadvantage. See how Mike Bush got a little separation, but look how Rideau made what we call a baseball turn. Turned back like a center fielder would, readjusted to the football, and came back to it to break up the play.
I have to mention, too, that USC has lost 2 cornerbacks. Kevin Arbette lost for the season. Then, of course, you had none you talked about earlier. That puts the onus on Rideau and William Buchanan. 5 wide receivers set now for Washington State. 3-man rush. They get it to Bush. He takes a hit as he gets near the 35-yard line. Grudegood came up and helped out along with Champ Simmons.
You talk about the corners being out. Now we have to add the All-American for a strong safety, Polamalu, being out during this ball game.
But I think Mike Price he calls the offensive plays here for Washington State. He probably wants to go after USC's corners anyway.
Well, that's an attack point for him. Especially they want to find number 31, William Buchanan, who's a freshman.
3 wide receivers to the right. Gesser looking over the middle, goes to the left, down the field, swatted away. Intended receiver was Darling. That ball kind of floated. Marcel Allman was able to come up and knock it away.
He's also actually double covered because number 5, Deshaun Hill, was coming over the top as a safety, and he would have helped make the play also. Marcel Allman on the inside, played the ball, knocked it away, causes a punting situation for Washington State.
There you see the numbers on Kyle, just about 41 and a half, and he wants to call a timeout.
They don't have enough guys on the field. A special teams error. They had to burn a timeout.
Ooh, boy, you don't want to be that guy that has to run out because that man's going to talk to you about it. We've got a timeout. 13:50 left in the first half. The Cougs lead the men of Troy. Now the students camping out to get tickets for this game. A sellout crowd at Martin Stadium. Temperature is getting a little chilly as the sun goes down, and one of the things we noticed, Washington State is on the east side of the stadium as opposed to the west side. I asked why. Most teams are right underneath the press box, the home team. Their explanation, the sun. It comes over the stadium. It's colder on this side. They want to stay warm as long as they can.
And this punt formation, a little unusual. They have both of their gunners, their wide guys, on the same side, the near side closest to it. There's one of them right there.
Here comes the rush by SC. Nice kick by Bosler again. All the way back to the 11-yard line. Nice coverage, not much running room. And here's Aaron Andrews.
Okay, Ron, well, we've had a great time being here on homecoming weekend, and last night about 500 Cougar fans got together at a campus bonfire. Everybody was there, the president of the university, alumni, students, the band, the cheerleaders, the football team, and even I participated in some of the festivities. We did chants, cheers, danced a little bit, and of course stayed very, very close to that bonfire. It was cold outside. Well, the motto for this year's homecoming, Cougar Pride is on our side, so long, SoCal. Here you go, and hopefully they're backing that up on the football field right now. Guys, back up to you.
Yes, So far they are, as Kareem Kelly comes down with a reception. You notice how she had that gator thing going?
Yeah, Aaron's a graduate of the University of Florida, so this chomp thing, which is done at Washington State whenever there's a big defensive play, they play the theme from Jaws, and the students do the chomp, similar to the gator chomp. No wonder she got into it so easily.
It was easy.
She felt at home.
She wasn't chomping after today's Florida game, though, was she?
No, but we're not going to tease her about that one.
Oh, you won't.
No. She already beat my school.
Trufant McCullough, lone setback. Couple of tight ends, and McCullough will try the left side. He is going to be hammered quickly by Marcus Trufant from that cornerback spot. That'll set up a third down in about one. One of the things we're seeing already, a couple of weeks ago, they had McCullough, they had Fargus, they had McKenzie, and Pete Carroll used Herschel Dennis. They had
Darryl Poston.
Darryl Poston. They had tailback by committee. They're trying to condense it now, and it looks like McCullough and Fargus are going to get the majority of the carries.
Yeah, they'll be the primary ball carriers now. You know, McKenzie will also get a few carries just to be a tendency breaker. Let's see if they try and run it up inside, because McKenzie's now playing tailback.
He's behind Chad Pearson. Play action into the flats of Pearson. First down as he gets up near the 40-yard line. Trufant tripping him up. Craig Sager, what do you have?
I have an update on Troy Polamalu. He has a pain on the right side of his leg below the knee. The ligaments appear to be stable. However, when he steps on the leg, a severe pain goes from the knee down to the ankle. They put some ice packs on the leg. They also re-taped the ankle. So right now he's having trouble putting any weight on it at all. The doctors are holding him out. Ron?
I'll tell you, you just do not want to see that.
No, and better be safe than sorry with a young man such as him.
First and 10. Quick looking pass. Palmer had some mustard on that, completing it to Kareem Kelly. Kelly again close to another first down. Kareem Kelly has been the main man the last couple of years for this team, but he's kind of taken a different role the last couple of games.
And Norm Chow is praising him on the way he's handling it. He's been the go-to guy for 3 years at USC, but now with the emergence of Mike Williams and Kerry Colbert being Mr. Dependable and Mr. Consistency, Kareem Kelly's not getting the same number of touches he normally would. But that catch, 40 straight games, he's had at least one catch, nearing a Pac-10 record. Second to Johnny Morton in USC history for receptions. Pick up 11 on that play. Another first and 10 for USC. Three-step drop. Pass is complete to Alex Holmes, the tight end. Penalty flag is thrown. It's probably going to be a face mask. The way they were trying to rip and tear at the ball, trying to pull it out as Alex Holmes kept fighting, someone may have gotten a hand on the mask.
Big junior out of Sherman Oaks, California, the best blocker from that tight end position.
He caught that one.
4 receptions at Oregon State, so he also has some pretty good hands.
Yeah, sorry about that, partner. He actually, remember earlier in the game, they tried to go to him and he dropped it.
Now they're going to talk it over again.
Face mask, 5-yard face mask on the defense, marked from the end of the run, followed by a dead ball, personal foul on the defense, 15 yards.
CBS Big Play Saturday is presented in part by T-Mobile. That's called compounding the problem.
And the 5-yard face mask, they didn't feel that it was very severe in how he yanked the runner down. But the 15-yard personal foul, someone probably said something to the official after the call.
First and 10 from the 24-yard line. Palmer looks over the middle. Pass is complete. Alex Holmes again. How are they getting so open underneath? Is he getting in front of the linebackers?
He's using his big body. Alex Holmes is 6'3", 265, and he cleared space by being big. Yeah, Rob, watch Holmes. He'll come from here and just kind of run a little short route to the inside, but most people did on this route. Excuse me, I got him on the wrong side. He came from the right side, but just coming underneath, just cleared a little space with his body. But they've been running a number of those short routes. Look for them to try and sneak someone deep soon.
Showing the blitz, they give it to McCullough, runs right by it. Down to the 10, down to the 8-yard line. Marcus Trufant making the saving tackle. That is a classic case of beating a blitz with a run.
You saw Washington State run into it. meaning they came from deep positions and ran up into the line and tried to time it at the snap of the ball. But Sultan McCullough, an excellent runner here earlier in the game, shaking the linebacker Ira Davis for big yardage and then running in for a touchdown. The initial touchdown for USC, and showing a little bit of power as he goes into the end zone.
That's USC's only touchdown so far. First and goal now from the 9. Palmer floats it into the end zone. Intercepted. No, it was caught, fumbled, now it's picked up. And that'll be a touchback. Jason David is the first one to have it. The interception by David. Coleman comes up with a loose pigskin.
And Jason David made an excellent play and almost gave it back. Watch the interception as he goes up. Highest point. Goes up in front of Kerry Colbert. Takes it away from him. The play is not dead right here, okay? He doesn't take a knee. The ball's punched out. He lets it go on the ground, and then Washington State recovered it. Washington State looking very good on defense right now, leading in this ball game.
Now USC playing their 4th straight ranked team. The only other time that happened was in 1952, and David with the interception. That's only the 2nd interception in the last 4 games for Carson Palmer. Now Washington State with 5 wide receivers out.
Shotgun formation. This is a set that they feel like they're very comfortable in and have had a lot of success with it.
Getzer has the pass complete to Darley. Up to the 35-yard line. First down for the Cougars. Pickup of 15 on the play.
They came into this game saying they were 25 of 39 success rate in their 5-receiver set. Today, they're 2 for 4, 50%. Very comfortable in it. The line knows that the ball is going to be gone very quickly. Usually a 3-step drop. There's a quick slant route to DeVar Darling for 15 yards.
And those are the kind of plays that Mike Price likes to see. He wants those +10, +15 plays. Look for the reverse. Here it comes. Riley up to the 40. Sprints through the USC defense into Trojan territory down to the 45. Now we've had a little razzle and there's a little dazzle.
Going back in the days of the Boston Celtics with Bob Cousy, they used to call this Hippa Dippa. Beautiful reverse to Jerome Riley. It's the 2nd reverse we've seen. The first one went to DeVar Darling. This one goes to another receiver, Jerome Riley. And right now, USC missing their fallen leader, Troy Polamalu, who's headed now to the dressing room for more treatment.
Pickup of 19 on the play. Another 5 receiver. They're running the little screen. Complete to Green. Jermaine Green inside the 30. Mark him out at about the 29-yard line. Green, the 5'11 junior out of Daytona Beach, his 7th reception of the year. They've got a nice little trio going at the tailback with Tippins, Green, and Jonathan Smith.
You talked about USC having a committee.
Yeah.
This is a pretty good committee also here in Pullman. Now, we talked about the trick plays. They've run 2 so far. Both of them have been reverses. But we can't begin to count the number of misdirections, screens, right? All the other things that they've run, the quick drop-back passes, everything they've done to combat the rush from USC's defensive line.
And here they come again with that 5-receiver set on 1st and 10 from the 29. Gesser, plenty of time. Now he's going to move. Has a man wide open, complete down to the 11-yard line to Jerome Riley. Riley with his 3rd catch.
Mike Price talked about the courage of Jason Gesser because he's a smaller guy who takes a lot of hits. But what he doesn't mention enough is what the great feet he has. Feels the pressure, spins away, and then his receiver, Jerome Riley, has so much confidence in his quarterback that he comes from all the way across field in order to help him out and make a play.
How about the last, sorry, Charles, last 4 plays? How about 15 yards, 19 yards, 17 yards, and 19 yards?
Isn't that what Mike Price told us yesterday? They wanted to put the big play back in their offense?
And again, 5 receivers looking inside, down to the 1-yard line. Henderson, he didn't get in. Fell backwards, but not before he hit at the 1. Colin Henderson. His 12th catch of the year.
We talked about rhythm. We talked about flow. And watch the replay. Right here in the inside, Henderson on the slant route, knows he's going to take the shot from inside and out, catches the ball. Washington State's in a rhythm now that Mike Price likes to call Coogan it. Meaning they're making a lot of good plays, play after play.
Pippins and Green in the backfield. Green doesn't get it. No signal from the official.
Jermaine Green, the ball
Now
carrier.
remember, this is a USC defense that only gives up 205 yards a game. They've already given up 193. We still have 8 minutes left in the first half.
They knew they were going to see a lot of misdirection. You see Pete Carroll, the head coach, who doubles as his own defensive coordinator. He knew they were going to see all these things, but it's hard to simulate it in practice, what you're going to see in a ball game, because the team you're going to play will run their offense so much more efficiently than your scout team will.
Third down and goal. Gesser fakes, throws into the end zone. Incomplete. Nice defensive play by USC's Deshaun Hill. The senior out of Long Beach gave up some inches to Troy Bieneman. Fourth down, and they're going to go for it.
Ball just wasn't up high enough for Bieneman to make a better play. Where the ball was actually allowed Deshaun Hill to make a play on the football. Ball needs to be high because Bieneman's 6'4", but it's down there in a range where Deshaun Hill has a chance, and he made the most of it. Fourth and goal, Mike Price goes for it.
And a 5 wide receiver set on fourth and goal from the 1. Gesser keeps, doesn't get it. Great job by the #1 defense in college football.
I believe that's the first time we've seen them in 5 wide receivers and not in shotgun. Jason Gesser was under the center. See, I thought they'd be in shotgun and 5 wide receivers, and if you're going to run quarterback draw, that gives you a chance to find a hole. But here it's just a straight quarterback run option, and he was hit by about half the USC defensive front.
Yeah. Champ Simmons, who played here at Washington State, came in, got a piece of him. Udeze got a piece of him, and Pollard got a piece of him.
If you question anything about the play calls, that there wasn't a second option on it. It was strictly a run. Normally you have a run-pass option for a quarterback as elusive as Gesser.
Now Washington State showing blitz. They keep it on the ground on the right side. Justin Fargas, the senior out of Encino, California, transfer out of Michigan. Playing his final year here at USC.
And you know, he and Jerome Riley of Washington State are childhood friends. So this is a big ball game for the two of them, kind of the bragging rights. And Jerome Riley credits Justin Fargas in teaching him how to run with the football, to go hard each and every time.
Pick up a 4, second and 6. We'll put it at the 5. On the ground again, up to the 7 to the 8-yard line. Again, it is Fargas. Davis and Davis on the stop from the linebacker spot. It's the drama of NASCAR on TNT. Next week,
well, and with Sterling Marlin's injury.
That's right.
You know, you take a look, it was a big race for the Winston Cup Championship this year. They go visit Humphrey Wheeler in Charlotte.
We're scaring ourselves. 3rd and 3. Palmer, 3-step drop, flies it out right side, no first down. Virgil Williams from the strong safety spot. The senior out of Tacoma, that's Yeoman's Worth.
And as impressive as USC's 4th down stop was of Gesser, it was equally huge that Virgil Williams make this tackle on the pass to McKenzie. Why? Field position now, and it also allows Washington State's offense to have another crack at it after they didn't get it in on 4th and goal. This gives them an excellent opportunity now to atone for not scoring the last time out.
Tom Malone, 5 yards deep in his own end zone. Trufant at the 50. Malone at pregame is struggling against the wind. And this is a low end-over-end kick. Trufant on the run. The wall is there. Look out! Inside the 25, down to the 22-yard line. And we've got a penalty flag thrown at the 37.
Ron, this is a big play by Marcus Trufant.
On the return, holding on the return team, 10 yards from the spot of the foul.
It's too bad because it's a very intelligent play by Trufant because he could have let the ball hit, and if it had hit again, it would have rolled for USC. But as a punt returner, your job is to go get the football so you don't have a change in field position. And he did that. Too bad there, though, as we saw the hold. Excuse me, we saw the penalty against Washington State. I believe that was Isaac Brown, number 9, their starting defensive end, also playing special teams.
Kind of obvious.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where officials like, I gotta call that.
Yeah,
I mean,
when the pants come out of the jersey, no.
Great return, but son, you can't undress it.
Not allowed. Not in this league. So instead of excellent field position, they have good field position. Back at the 46-yard line, 5:38 to go here in quarter number 2. Gesser rolls right, throws left. Complete to Smith. Slips a couple tackles. First down, Washington State. Pickup of 12. I tell you, if Gesser's hurting, he's sure putting on a pretty good act.
Well, they've talked about how tough this young man is, and he doesn't fit the mold of your typical Washington State star quarterback. Mark Rippon, Drew Bledsoe, Ryan Leaf, those were all big, burly, husky guys. 6'4", 6'5", 230 to 240 pounds. When Mike Price first saw film on Jason Gesser, he told his guys, no way, I'm not taking a 6-foot quarterback until they watched him again. And there's Mark Rippon, one of the all-time greats at Washington State, and also in the NFL, won a Super Bowl with the Washington Redskins.
Got some hardware. Gesser's pass. Bush tried a short hop, but it's incomplete. TBS Big Play Saturday brought to you by T-Mobile. With T-Mobile, you get more from life. Get more minutes, more features, more service. And by the Home Depot, driving down the cost of home improvement. Charles Davis, Greg Sager, Aaron Andrews. I'm Ron Phillip. Welcome you to Pullman, Washington. 5:03 to play in the first half, and the Cougars lead USC 10-7. Gesser playing with that dislocated rib. Doing a nice job so far tonight. 13 of 21 throwing the football. We'll try it again. Look out. Ball's loose. Kenichi Udeze is the one who stripped him of the football. So Washington State will have it, but it'll be back at about the 40-yard line. Sam Lightbody came up to lose ball.
Or as his teammates call him, BKU for Big Kenichi Udeze. And a great job getting to Gesser, not just in terms of going for the sack, but see how he went for the football and got the strip? Trying to cause a turnover on defense.
Udeze, just a sophomore. He was a second-team freshman All-American last year. Brings up a 3rd down and 16. USC brings 5. Gesser looking for Bush. He laid out for it, just couldn't get the handle. We have a penalty flag, and it's going to be a hold against Washington State.
Big Mike Patterson, number 99, and Kenichi Udeze, number 94, just collapsed the pocket on Jason Gesser. They had to hold in order to try and protect their quarterback.
And this is the 5th penalty already against Washington State.
Holding on the offense. That penalty is declined. 4th down.
Let's quickly check in with Craig Sager. Craig?
Well, we saw Troy Polamalu being carried off the field, put in a cart, and reeled out of the stadium. They have taken him to Pullman Memorial Hospital for x-rays for a possible broken bone in his right leg.
Oh, boy. That is not good news. Bosler set to kick it away on his own 45. High snap, pulls it down, and this one's a skyrocket. But it'll be in the end zone. Well, he's got a lot of air underneath it, a little bit too much air. USC will take over 1st and 10 from their own 20 with 4:07 left to play in the opening 30 minutes. $10-7 is our score, part of the fare offered here at the football game. But each week we bring our soapbox to our respective stadiums for a little rant. Let's see the rant this week.
We're a dance all over your faces like this. Go Cougs! Yeah! Cougs by 28 at least, and that's right. Go Cougs!
Kyler McCaslin, I don't think I can eat after the game. But you know what was funny after he did that? He hit the knee.
So he was winded.
Well, USC first and 10 from their own 20, and we got people jumping all over the place.
And that was a 4-receiver set with no one in the backfield for USC. Actually, it was 5 because they used a tight end instead of
Dead
a
ball.
wide receiver.
Offsides on the defense. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
I got to see Kyle. He's a Chris Farley duplicate, isn't he? And
Yeah,
this is
look at
after he did it. He's dying.
You know, when I was playing, you know, when you were tired, you bent over and, you know, you showed that you were tired like that. You weren't supposed to show that to your opponents. I got to tell him, I don't know if you ever watched Seinfeld. Can't think about a bro.
Yeah,
right?
He needs the man's ear there.
Needs the man's ear. Attaboy, Kyle.
Well, Mike Price's team has had some opportunities. They didn't take advantage of a roughing the kicker call early on here in quarter number 2. Penalties have hurt them, but they do have the advantage by 3. 4:08 to play in the opening half.
And we saw those missed opportunities etched on Mike Price's face there a moment ago, didn't we?
McKenzie in motion. Palmer, 3-step. Quick look in. Kareem Kelly complete up to the 35-yard line. That'll be good for a first down. Now let's take a look at our poll results, our instant poll results on America Online. A question: which team will finish with a better record at the end of the season? USC, 51%. Washington State, 49%. Okay. We'll take that poll after this game. Might change. Ball's on the 35. Keeps it on the ground, and McCullough trying to get to the edge, and the Washington State defense closing quickly. Virgil Williams from that strong safety spot, the senior out of Tacoma, Washington. He is the hardest hitter on this defense. This man had a good week, or a good year. Applied for another year of eligibility. He's got the 6th year.
And
He's pumped.
He missed a year before by, they said he kind of was sheared a nerve making a tackle. It took him a while to come back, and he's still the hardest hitting guy in their defense.
No gain on the play. 2nd and 10. Palmer into the flat. Pass is complete. Getting away is Pearson. Inside the 50, down to the 45-yard line. Pearson showing he's got some hands tonight. That is his 3rd reception, and he came into the game with only 2 receptions for the season.
And the surprise for me, I think, is that Brandon Hancock isn't running these plays for USC, their freshman fullback. Because he's the kind of guy who will make that play and maybe even get a little more out of it than Pearson, although it's hard to quibble with what he just got. It's an excellent play. But I'm thinking people plays. You take some of your better players, put them in those spots, and get them going downfield.
Numbers for Carson Palmer. Virgil Williams talking about a hard hitter, and he missed the tackle. Now it's Hancock moving around. Palmer, plenty of time, now moving. Brown is chasing him, throws it, and it is complete down to the 13-yard line to Kerry Colbert. His 2nd reception of the night. Picking on Jason David.
What a good job by Kerry Colbert, number 83, running this route. He ran a short route. Notices his quarterback in trouble. Watch him point. Throw it downfield. Throw it downfield. I'll go get it. And Carson Palmer put it out there. That's exactly what Kerry Colbert did. Good communication between the two. They had a communication breakdown in the Kansas State game on the last drive. Cost them an opportunity to tie. They've spent some extra time together. They're definitely on the same page.
19 receptions for Colbert the last 3 games. He picked up 32. McCullough, right side. The defense collapses as the penalty flags come flying in. Well, McCullough's doing the workload tonight. Yeah, we'll listen into the call once again. Pete Carroll, defensive
holding on the offense, 10 yards from the previous spot. Replay first down.
Well, let's see what EJ's cooking up at the big game house. Ernie.
So we're cooking up, and all that on the halftime report brought to you by Chili's, huh?
Thank you, Ernie. 1st and 20 from the 24. McCullough, nothing doing. And he is going to be dropped for about a 3-yard loss. Jeremy Williams, the junior out of Spokane, Washington, coming in to make the stop. This is a guy that plays high. He's got a great burst at the line of scrimmage, and we've seen it a couple of times tonight.
He's a big, tall guy playing defensive tackle, 6'4". Oftentimes, you see your defensive tackle guys being more 6'1", 6'2", so they can play lower against those double-team blocks. When Jeremy Williams plays low, but they call it with a flat back, he's really impressive.
Now they're going to call it a loss of 4. 1:10 to play in the half. Second and a bunch, ball's loose. Palmer fell on it. USC will still have possession of the football as we're inside of a minute.
Second play in a row that looked bad for USC. Quarterback center exchange. Ball never really got up to Carson Palmer. Norm Katnick, number 62, the center. The previous play was a misdirection play, and seemed as if Sultan McCullough went the wrong way, opposite where Carson Palmer thought he would go. USC needs the play to look like it's supposed to on this third down.
Third down at about 26 and a half.
And Mike Williams in the slot.
They're bringing 5. They throw it out. Incomplete. McCullough had it and dropped it. 4th drop tonight for the USC receiving corps.
Now USC will have to punt the football unless, no, I take that back. Ryan Colleen's going to run out there and attempt a field goal. And Dunning hit one hard earlier in the ball game into the wind. See what Colleen can do.
Colleen, 3 of 4 kicking the football. His longest field goal is 43. This is marked at the 38-yard line. It'll be about a 48-yarder. Good snap. Good hold. Hits the upright. Now the young man had the distance. Just clipping the right upright. Well, tonight's pre-play is created with NCAA Football 2003 from EASports.com, and cast your vote on the outcome of next week's game. Now Washington State keeping it on the ground with John Tippins. With 10 seconds left, he scampers out of bounds, not before a first down. By the way, how about down in College Station, Texas? Not much love lost between these two teams, and Mike Leach has to be pleased. His Tech squad upsets Texas A&M. They get the new offensive coordinator, but R.C. Slocum's defense, I tell you that, the defense doesn't give up 48 points, but they did today.
Yeah, what happened to the wrecking crew? Because they've been playing so well all year. Remember, they only gave up 13 points against Virginia Tech and held that dynamic rushing duo, the Untouchables, under 100 yards combined. So a big day for Mike Leach's offense.
Stick around for the Chili's halftime report. Ernie in the big game house. Catch you up on everything today. 5 wide receiver set. Passes in and out of the hands of DeVar Darling. We still have 5 seconds left on the play.
And a lot of people would question, why do you throw the ball underneath like that? Because if you get a first down, the clock stops.
And Ernie in the big game house. Scores and highlights. Plus, Oklahoma State, the Les Miles team came down to Austin. They were prepared to play. Texas now sets their sights on next Saturday's game with Oklahoma. The Red River shootout at the Cotton Bowl. Oklahoma playing tonight against Missouri. Now Mike Price doing a little player shuffle there, huh?
A little animated. Didn't like the personnel set he had in the ball game. And boy, that was frustrating not to get that last completion for his offense.
Now with 5 seconds left, they're going to try to play it safe with Tippins, and that's going to do it. A lot of fireworks early on. USC was the first to draw blood in the opening quarter, but then Washington State coming back. 10 unanswered points. Here's Craig Sager with Coach Price.
Well, Coach, 10 points against the #1 defense in the country, but what's your assessment of the score and your team?
Well, I think we can move the ball. I feel bad about that play down there. I shouldn't have called that play on 4th and 1. Spread quarterback sneak, you know. We should have just lined up in our goal line and rammed it down in there, and we didn't do it. I had to have more confidence in my kids than that. And I don't think they can stop us, but we're not stopping them too good either. So it's a close game.
With their All-American safety, Troy Polamalu, out of the ball game, will that affect your game calling in the second half?
Well, it did a little bit because he's a heck of a player. I like having him on the bench a lot more than I like having him on the field.
Thanks a lot. The score at halftime right now, Washington State 10, USC 7. Let's go to the big house and Ernie Johnson.
I don't know if I'm ready for the big house, but the big game house will be just fine. Thanks Ole Miss as they beat Florida 17-14. Alton and into the hands of Charlie Pepra, who gives the Tide a 25-24 lead, the two-point conversion for Georgia with 38 seconds to play, and they beat Alabama 27-25. Georgia, a winner in Tuscaloosa, Alabama for the first time in history. They were 0-7. I'm Ernie Johnson. This is the Chili's halftime report. And still to come, you're going to look at the Texas Longhorns, unbeaten, but really had to fight the Oklahoma State Cowboys today. And also the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, Ty Willingham, facing the team he coached for 7 years. The highlights still to come. Welcome back to the Chili's halftime report from the Big Game House, where Big Play Saturday continues. And let's talk about the Stanford Cardinal and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, shall we? Ty Willingham coached for 7 years at Stanford, and already this year he'd beaten his alma mater, Michigan State, so now he's going up against the team that he had just coached for the last 7 years. Can I have some highlights, please? Thank you so much. There is Ty. Notre Dame leading 10-7. Stanford's Chris Lewis going to the air, but Shane Walton right there to pick it off and take it 17 yards, and it's 17-7. Then it's Lewis throwing to Alex Smith. They call this an interception, though it appeared that Courtney Watson just kind of wrestled it away from him, took it home. Stanford scored first, Notre Dame scored the rest. 31-7 the final for Notre Dame. Here's an upset for you. The Huskies of Washington had won 17 straight at Husky Stadium, had beaten Cal 19 times in a row, but the Golden Bears win at 34-17. Kyle Bowler throws for 5 scores as California goes to 4-2. And the UCLA Bruins playing at Oregon State today, and UCLA a winner behind Tyler Ebell's 203 rushing yards on 29 carries. Not bad for the redshirt freshman, as Oregon State has kind of fallen back to earth. They've lost their last 2 after winning their first 4. 43-35 is the final. As we take you to break here on the Chili's halftime report, the Cougar Marching Band, Washington State.
Great.
Thank you.
Oh, you know what? It's your birthday. It's all taken care of.
All right. Here you go. Enjoy.
30 shrimp for your 30th birthday.
I'm 29.
Mix and match 30 irresistible shrimp for $9.99 at Red Lobster.
Back here on the Chili as Texas beats Oklahoma State to stay unbeaten 17-15. Colorado at home against Kansas State. L. Roberson of Kansas State. Remember the performance against Southern California on PBS a few weeks back? 178 yards rushing on the day. Here's the play of the game, though. Robert Hodge of Colorado, 94 yards to Jeremy Bloom. Colorado already up by 7 at that point, puts them up by 14, and Colorado on its way to a 35-31 win. The first loss for number 13 Kansas State in a wild game between Texas Tech and Texas A&M. Cliff Kingsbury throws for 5 touchdowns. That one to Nehemiah Glover, and that's in overtime. Now, Texas A&M had missed its extra point when it scored first, so all Robert Priest had to do was boot it through, and he did. And Texas Tech knocked out number 23, Texas A&M by 1. Baylor, the streak is over after losing 29 in a row in the Big 12. They beat Kansas 35-32. Last team they beat was Kansas in 98. Oklahoma trying to stay perfect, leading Missouri 10-7, and Nebraska bounces back, beating McNeese State 38-14. Back with a bit more on the Chili's halftime report in just a second. Next week on Big Play Saturday here on the Superstation, you'll get a look at Texas Tech and Iowa State. Seneca Wallace, a quarterback for Iowa State. Cliff Kingsbury for Texas Tech. That should be a shootout. Followed by the movie ball with Above the Law. Speaking of the movie ball, what do you say we check in with the hosts, Matt Arden and Cherie Christian? Hey, y'all.
What's up? Hey, Jay, that's exactly right. We're going to have the movie ball, of course, after the...
Dating back to last year, USC has won 7 of their last 8 games, but now the number 18 team in the country, the Trojans, trail the number 17 Washington State Cougars 10-7 at halftime. And the homecoming festivities, a little chariot races going on here in Pullman. We still have a lot more football straight ahead. Can USC make up the deficit, or can Washington State hang on? Second half straight ahead. Welcome back to Big Play Saturday, presented by T-Mobile and Discover Card. As we get set to start the third quarter, Washington State currently leading the number 18 team in the country, the Trojans of USC, 10-7. Once again, along with Charles Davis, I'm Ron Thulin. Top of the show, we talked about the senior quarterbacks. Both quarterbacks playing very well right now, but we also talked about Washington State's offensive line against USC's defensive line. The defensive line with Troy Polamalu out, the onus is on them now.
It is, and they've started to really come along as the game has gone on. Early in the ball game, all the misdirections and counters, reverses, all the threats of that helped keep the defensive line at bay for USC. But as the game has gone on, they've ignored a lot of those fakes now. They've come hard after Jason Gesser, and they've really started to get to him.
Let's take a look at some of the numbers from the first 30 minutes of play. A couple of things stand out. First of all, the total yards for Washington State, 216. USC is giving up only 205 a game coming into tonight.
Well, again, you know, Pete Carroll knew going into this ball game that those numbers might not be realistic going up against a Jason Gesser offense and a Mike Price coach team because of all the different plays they're going to run. The gadgetry, the trick plays, but even more so, the misdirections, the counters, the screens, all those plays don't go down as gimmicks.
Right.
They're just part of Washington State's offense, and they've run it very effectively.
Let's quickly check in with Craig Sager. Craig?
Well, Pete Carroll said that Troy Polamalu is not feeling well, but he hopes that he will come back. He is back from the hospital. The x-rays apparently are negative, and he is walking around in the locker room. So whether or not he comes back, at least we have good news on his injury, Ron.
Absolutely. That is good news and much needed. And we're set to get the second half underway. Right at the 2-yard line. Darling. That ball is lost. SC says they have it, and they do. Brandon Hancock, the true freshman, coming up with a loose ball. What a break for USC to start the second half.
Darling fields the ball cleanly, brings it upfield, got it tucked very well, but as he started to try and shift it, he ran into one of his own teammates, and that knocked the ball free before Brandon Hancock, the true freshman, with a 3.81 GPA, jumped on the football. Good football smarts there.
Now that's the first turnover for Washington State in this football game.
See if they try and strike quick here.
4 wide receivers. Palmer quickly to Green Kelly. Down to the 20-yard line. Pick up a 4 on the play. Jason David was on the coverage.
Jason David, number 29 on the tackle.
Once again, we're seeing exactly what we saw in the first quarter. They're throwing the pass to set up the run. That was their philosophy for Carson Palmer coming into this football game.
And what I've noticed as the game has gone on, Norm Chow took a few shots downfield early in the game, and they've retreated from that. Everything they're throwing now is underneath. I don't know if it's because Washington State is playing so deep, or if they're trying to lull them to sleep to try and get deep later.
Vargas straight ahead running inside the 15 down to about the 13-yard line.
Number 25,
I really think coming into this game, the pressure was on this USC offense. You knew what you were getting with the USC defense, but the Trojan offense, they had to finally produce.
And the USC defense has set up USC's offense for an opportunity to score some points, and also has kept Washington State out of the end zone. Remember the 4th and short where they stopped Jason Gesser. Now here's a chance for USC's offense to capitalize after a special teams miscue.
1st and 10 from the 13-yard line. They'll keep it on the ground again, and this time Washington State there to tie him up. Isaac Brown, the junior out of Upland, California. He led the charge of red jersey.
Brown lost of 2 yards on the play.
Isaac Brown, known as a sack master, came into this game with 4. His goal is to get 10 this year, and then his defensive line coach, Rob Akey, is going to get a couple of earrings as part of their bet. But this time he played the run very well.
Well, we just got an update on Troy Polamalu. They're saying now it's an ankle sprain and he is questionable to return.
Which is actually good news because there are no broken bones.
3 wide receivers, empty backfield. Palmer into the left flat. McKenzie, touchdown USC.
Touchdown USC on the pass.
That brings a smile to Pete Carroll's face. Malaifu McKenzie with his 2nd touchdown reception of the year.
And I don't think there's any more popular player on this team than Malaifu McKenzie because of all he's gone through in order to get back and play college football. He's the guy who lost his father last year, went through some personal struggles, made his way back to the team this year, granted a 6 year of eligibility, and is making the most of it.
Lean for the extra point, and it is good. Now USC struck first in the opening quarter on their opening drive. They do likewise here in the 3rd. Palmer to McKenzie to Pater. Inside of Martin Stadium, fans, you can vote for tonight's U.S. Army Players of the Game, powered by America Online. Simply log on to tbssuperstation.com or AOL keyword Big Play and cast your vote. One of the things Mike Price, the head coach of Washington State, was concerned about was giving USC a short field. He said, we need to make them drive 80 yards. Now, Mike gave them the short field, and they took advantage of it.
Yeah, I think Coach Price would say, well, DeVar Darling gave him the short field with the fumble.
Yeah, that's right. That's
but, of
right.
course, he would say, you know, as a Cougar, we'll take it as a family. But that's something they cannot afford to do, turnovers in the kicking game. And have we not seen a number of kicking miscues all across the country this year in college football?
Yep. Both coaches talked about it. Washington State, Sammy Moore up to the 25-yard line, and that's where they'll begin 1st and 10. Big Play Saturday keeps rolling after the game with Matt and Cherie on the Movie Bowl. They'll have more post-college living advice while Mel Gibson...
Can't not mention Joe Pesci. He'll come after us. You don't want Joe upset.
Gotcha. Yeah.
There's the 4. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Washington State, 3 wide receivers to start off.
And they're going to keep it on the ground, try the right side, plenty of running room for Green to the 40, to the 50, it's a race! Touchback! Golden goalpost!
Receiver set, got a nice block at the point of attack from number 67, Calvin Armstrong. And the whole time, you see the extra point from Dunning, which is good. The whole time I'm thinking Jermaine Green has a bad knee and hasn't really run away from anyone thus far this year. Could they run him down? There's Mike Bush, number 5. Great block on William Buchanan. Green with the cutback, showing the JUCO talent that he brought with him, and Washington State now leads.
The longest play from scrimmage this year, pass or play for Washington State. Mike Price's big play squad, 75 yards for Green, the touchdown, and they've regained the lead. Now, he wanted big plays, Charles.
He said he wanted to put the big play back in the offense. He talked about 1997 going into the Apple Cup game against Washington. They'd average about 2 minutes a drive on offense. He wanted more of that capability back in his scheme.
Holiday kicks it 9 yards deep into the end zone, nothing doing. Let's take a look at it again. Great cutback, though.
Great cutback. He got some help along the way. Right here, number 67, Armstrong. Good block at the point of attack. And then downfield, he picked up a block from Mike Bush, number 5. Saw him back to your left. He took down William Buchanan, number 31, their freshman cornerback. Great cutback by Jermaine Green. This is what they've been waiting to see. Had 100-plus yards, I believe, against Montana State earlier this year. But they've been waiting for the breakout from the heralded junior college transfer. Maybe that's the kickstart he was looking for.
4 wide receivers. Where would Troy Polamalu have been on that play?
Somewhere around the football.
Penalty flags are thrown all over the place.
You'd have to bet that.
Prior to the snap, dead ball, false start on the offense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Fans, for exclusive news and recruiting coverage of your favorite teams, log on now to Rivals.com. You know, we talked about it being the longest play for Washington State. That's the longest given up by USC this year also.
Yeah, you don't usually see USC give up those types of plays because they run to the football so well. They pursue and close down angles, and the cutback got them, and normally they take away cutbacks. Big defensive series for Washington State now because they have momentum on their side, and they don't want USC to go on a march. They want to keep the momentum with them as the Washington State players are trying to get the crowd into the ball game. And the longer it sits, the better it is for Washington State.
Well, they're resetting the clock. The game clock at the far end of the field.
12:32, please.
It is actually an advantage for Washington State right now. It's only 1 second differential. They need 1 more second on it. But for Washington State's defense, this allows the crowd to really get revved up.
That's right.
And really get into it. So Carson Palmer, the quarterback, has to use his poise, use his senior leadership to get his team settled down, forget the penalty on first down, and start a march.
6 straight trips to Pullman. USC has beaten the Cougars. Kelly and Williams split out to the near side. Incomplete. Colbert, the intended receiver.
Ball was behind him, low and behind him. On an out route, it has to be out ahead of him, headed towards the sidelines. Watch Colbert. He's just going to come down here and break off to the sideline, but watch how he has to reach back. See, hard to do that when your momentum's headed the other way. Notice how his feet came out from under him. Hard to make that sudden stop and stay balanced. You see Pete Carroll look on with a bit of concern.
2nd down and 15 for the Trojans. They'll keep it on the ground, straight ahead running. Picking up maybe 4 on the play. Sultan McCullough, the senior out of Pasadena, California, who runs a 10-1-700. That's picking them up and laying them down.
Washington State now has trotted in their dime package. They brought number 15, Carl Payma, in, and number 26, Jeremy Bohannon. 6 defensive backs. That's Bill Doba, the defensive coordinator for Washington State, who does such a great job scheming and preparing. I'm betting they'll play some type of a zone here. Let USC catch it underneath and go make the tackle.
They only rush 4. Here comes the 5th. Palmer over the middle. Pass is complete. Up to the 35-yard line. Kerry Colbert fighting his way. Virgil Williams hanging all over him. That is a big-time catch. That's why he's the most consistent receiver for USC.
There was nothing wrong with the call by Bill Doba. They played 2 deep zone. The Isaac Brown, number 9, coming in, laying the hit on Carson Palmer. But he stays in strong, delivers a strike. Look at the coverage. Virgil Williams, number 24, on the play. Jeremy Bohannon. Nothing wrong with the call. Really, almost nothing wrong with the coverage. That was just a great play by Kerry Colbert.
And a good pass. Pickup of 17 on the play. Pearson and Fargus in the eye. Palmer looking, passing, completing. Pickup of only 3 on the play, and again it is Kerry Colbert. That is his 4th reception tonight. Picked up only 2 on the plays.
This is where I'm thinking USC at some point has to strike downfield. Colbert made the great catch on third down, but for the most part they're throwing underneath 4- and 5-yard routes. They've got to push Washington State deeper and open up a few lanes for their guys to exploit.
And in the process, you're allowing Carson Palmer to get into a rhythm. Second down and 8. Vargas hits the edge, gets up to the 45, dives forward to about the 47-yard line. That'll be good for another first down for USC. TBS Big Play Saturday brought to you by and by Wrangler and Wrangler's new 5-star premium denim jeans. Real comfortable jeans. First and 10 from the 47. Vargas, nothing doing. You know, we're talking about Bill Dobin, his eighth season defensive coordinator. He has challenged his defensive line. They are one of the best in the conference, but he knew that, and he considers his secondary adequate, but he knew that his defensive line had to try to stop this rushing game of USC. So far, they've done a pretty good job at that.
And also protect their linebackers. You know, these aren't the linebackers that they've wanted to play with all year. They're missing Will Deerting, who had a great opening game, 3 interceptions against Nevada, 1 return for 98 yards and a touchdown. So they don't have all their personnel. They need the defensive line to be stout all day long.
2 wide receivers to the right. They go to the tight end. Holmes makes the catch. They'll be close to the first down. What kind of weapon is that to have a tight end like Alex Holmes, who's not only a good blocker, but also has some pretty sure hands?
Also has great recognition, too, because right here is the tight end, Alex Holmes, and it's a blitz read, what they call a hot route. He sees the blitz, goes right into the open space, and he hits it. You know, he's 265 pounds with soft hands. Yeah. That's almost criminal. You know?
Isn't it? That's illegal.
He's supposed to be pass blocking, right? Yeah. He's supposed to be locking out on a defensive end, not rumbling downfield in the secondary, because you keep having to hit guys that big all game long. It gets old for the defensive backs.
Absolutely.
And after a while, you might miss one, you know, subconsciously, because you're tired of whacking a big fellow like that.
Now, his workout partner back in California, how about Eric Dickerson?
Yeah, you know, the guy can work out pretty well, because I remember Eric Dickerson, you talk about guys picking him up, putting him down.
Yeah.
All right?
My guy's the one who won the Rams. That's who I work out with.
Yeah, you and me both.
Yeah, Krispy Kreme workout. And it was good enough for a first down. First and 10, McKenzie and Pearson now in the backfield. A tight set, play action. Palmer is going to be dropped. They had 5 defensive backs in. Palmer had absolutely no shot. Second sack given up by his offensive line tonight.
That's Isaac Brown, who prides himself on his pass rush abilities. When you look at him, does he look like a normal defensive end? He's built more like a, you know, really a lean linebacker who lines up a defensive end. He's bulked up to about 235, 240 this year, but still he's a speed rusher. And when a guy's wearing number 9, you don't think of him as a defensive end. No. That's his 5th sack of the season.
Back 10 honorable mention last year. Carson Palmer trying to buy some time, looking. Going up top, and he's just going to throw this away. Now let's go to the big game house with Ernie.
23-7, about midway through the third. Back to you, Ron.
Choking Ernie up. He's a big OU fan, I guess.
Well, I think it's the food. You know, as much food as they're getting back there. I think that chili came up on him a little bit there.
Big game for Bob Stoops. I think his club got a wake-up call. The way Texas played today. 5 defensive backs in. Palmer into the flat. Carson Palmer's pass is complete to Kareem Kelly. Jason David was on the coverage. That's a tough cover for Jason David.
It is, because you have to respect Kareem Kelly's deep ability. And in this play, you'll watch him as he comes downfield. Here's Jason David, the corner, having to lock up against Kelly. Kelly runs downfield and comes back, runs to the sideline, and David is in excellent position, just doesn't get to the upfield arm. You got to take away the upfield arm so these guys can't make the catch.
Now still short of the first down, 4th and 8. Malone at his 45.
Look at both gunners here, Ron, on the same side. You don't often see that formation in punting.
And he booms us. That's on its way to Moscow, Idaho. They're taking it to 20. Washington State has something to cheer about here in the second quarter. 7:34 to play in quarter number 3. It's a 17-14 Cougar lead. Washington State University, located on College Hill, and right now Troy Polamalu looks like he got taped up, and kind of gives you the feeling he wants to go back in, Charles.
Yeah, they've taped him up pretty tight, and they talk about it just being a sprain, and you know he has nothing but courage and wants to play. But if he can't run full speed, he might be hurting his ball club trying to cover these fleet wide receivers.
4 wide receivers. They keep it on the ground. Gesser keeps it, looks to the sideline, takes a shot as he heads out of bounds. Jason Leach coming up from that strong safety spot, the backup to Polamalu. I don't think Mike Price wants to see his quarterback take those shots into the ribs.
No, he doesn't, but he calls a play that puts him in a position to do that. And Jason Gesser trying to get to the sideline, hoping that Jason Leach doesn't launch and take the shot. But if you're Jason Leach, you know that Jason Gesser's a little bit sore. So if it's inbounds and it's legal, you take your shot at it. And that's exactly what he did.
4 wide receivers, 3 to the right, 1 to the left. Tippins alone in the backfield. Gesser, incomplete, should have been picked off. Champ Simmons had it right in his hands, but he was turning around, a little awkward on that, as it was intended for Jerome Riley. He would have loved that. That would have been a savoring interception.
It was. Let's see if Jason Gesser gets set and is able to get anything on it. Didn't really seem to step into it as a quarterback normally does. You wonder how much he's hurting. And watch Simmons. He turned just as the ball got to him. And as you mentioned, somewhat of an awkward turn for him because he was trying to locate his coverage, get to his drop point, then get his head back around. He didn't have enough time to get himself set up and catch the football. But Jason Gesser, you just wonder how much his ribs or his elbows hurting him right now.
0 for 5 on 3rd down. He takes a shot as he throws it up into the USC bench. Sean Cody is the one who came in and lowered the boom on him, the sophomore out of Hacienda Heights. And the coaching staff of Washington State, they're not afraid to show the offensive lineman what Gesser goes through. He took a shot on this one.
Here's another one, and when you talk about that on films, they tell the guys all the time, listen, this is the kind of courageous guy you're blocking for. Because oftentimes, he will put the ball right on the money as he takes a hit, such as that. And they want their guys to appreciate what he goes through to get them the football.
Osler's kick.
Bad play by the punt return. You got to go pick up the football.
And they're just letting him get yardage on it. Goes down to the 19-yard line. The kick covered 59 yards, so he did his job. Let's take a look at this week's Jack Daniels original Hard Cola flashback and take you back to the 1998 Rose Bowl. Washington State versus Michigan. Ryan Leaf to Kevin McKenzie, 15-yard TD. How about Charles Woodson? Little interception in the end zone of a Ryan Leaf pass. And with time winding down, Washington State attempts to spike the ball. But sorry, the clock kept going. Michigan wins it 21-16.
And the Washington State fans still say there's 1 second on the clock. They should have got one more try.
Always will. Keeping it on the ground with Sultan McCullough. Maybe picked up a couple on the play.
There was no play.
Was no play. Yep.
Prior to the snap. Dead ball. False start on the offense. 5-yard penalty. Replay 1st down.
Second series in a row that USC starts with a 5-yard penalty. We see Jason Gesser talking upstairs to his offensive coaches. See what they may be seeing in terms of coverage, what he might have to call in terms of protection for his offensive line, because USC's defensive front is really starting to get to him on just about every pass attempt.
Gesser just really turned into the prototype quarterback, the young man out of Hawaii. He's a guy that Rick Neuhausen, the coach of Washington, who had the disappointing loss today, said when he comes into the game, you hold your breath. Pete Carroll has the same respect. Right now, Pearson and Fargus in the backfield. 1st down and 15, 7:04 to play in the 3rd.
Penalties almost even between the two teams.
3-step drop into the flat, complete to Williams. Keeps moving the feet up to the 24-yard line. Eric Coleman on the stop. That is the mentality of USC. They finish every play. They play to the whistle, and Mike Price has told his troops about that.
That's become a theme for Washington State. Finish through the whistle. And he goes, USC does it, and even tried to impress upon his guys, this is what we need to do. Mike Williams catches the ball. Should have been dropped at the spot he caught the pass. Instead uses his 6'5" frame to fight for about 5 additional yards.
What was Bobby Bowden's line?
They played to the echo of the whistle.
2nd and 5. Short pass underneath to Kelly. Takes a couple of hits, gets up to the 30, and that'll be a first down. In fact, in that finish story, Mike Price has gone around the locker room and put the word finish on everything, even on the doors to the bathroom.
Yeah, they want to make sure these guys have it impressed upon them that every play must be finished. That's the way that you win. It's on their itinerary for this weekend about going to the hotel and coming here to the game. Finish. That's how they talk all the time. There's a different homecoming theme for the students, but for Washington State's team, it is the word finish.
Undercut by Marcus Trufant. Vargas looked like he was going to reach the corner. Loss of 2 on the play, courtesy of Trufant.
What a great play for a corner. Oftentimes when you talk about a corner, all you talk about is his ability to cover in pass routes. But Marcus Trufant read the run, knew it wasn't going to be a halfback pass, and used his sprinter speed to come up and upend Justin Vargas.
He is a 4-year starter, 2 years all-Pac-10 honorable mention for good reason.
I think he's going to move up a little this year on that one.
He will too. Washington State brings 5. They throw underneath to Pearson. He falls forward. He'll be short of the first down by about a yard.
And on the tackle, number 24, Virgil Williams.
Well, our next telecast will be coming your way next Saturday night at 7 o'clock Eastern right here on TBS. The Red Raiders of Texas Tech travel to Ames, Iowa to take on the 15th-ranked Iowa State Cyclones of Dan McCarney. And I'll tell you what, the state of Iowa is football crazy. Kirk Ferentz, great job at Iowa, winning today, and of course Texas A&M losing to Texas Tech. So Coach Leach will have Cliff Kingsbury and his troops ready to go to Ames next Saturday.
Yeah, they put up big numbers the last 2 weeks. 49 points against New Mexico, 48 today.
On 3rd down and 1, Carson Palmer throws to Pearson. He can't get the hand on it. And that'll bring up a 4th down and 1. Interesting play call on 3rd and 1 when you've been successful running the ball.
But they've also got stacked up a couple of times in 3rd and short. I'm sure that Norm Chow was thinking that. It's really a good call because he snuck Pearson out wide open. Carson Palmer, one of the few times he doesn't deliver the ball where it's supposed to be. He threw it behind him. Tough catch for a fullback to make.
Brings up a 4th down. Malone averaging about 43 yards a kick. No pressure. Nice high spiraling kick. Trufant back to the 15. Can't shake the jersey. And he is dropped back at the 10-yard line. 44 yards on the kick. Well, this week's installment of Home Depot Building a Team. Washington State Cougars have had to travel to attend school here in Pullman. You know about that 2900.
I know about that 2900 coming from Florida, from Alaska, the Hawaiian Islands. When you look at Jason Gesser, look at the breakdown. Because most of the time you talk about building a team with your home state, right up there with Washington, I didn't get it in the right spot. But Washington with 28, you know, normally that would dominate. So when you talk with Mike Price, only 40,000 people in the 2-county region surrounding this stadium. So they have to go elsewhere to get their players.
Straight ahead running this time it is John Tippins as Washington State began that drive with their worst field position of the evening. So how about the 75-yard burst by Green, and then Tippins picks up 14 on that. That defensive line of USC not doing the job right now.
And Jermaine Green is probably wondering why he's not still in the game running the football, as he would be the guy with a quote-unquote hot hand after a 75-yard touchdown run. But when you have 3 backs who can run the football equally well, it gives you a chance to keep rotating them in and out.
We could see the numbers just a moment ago. Play clock down to 8. Gesser, play action, looking for time. Throws it complete up to the 39-yard line to Jerome Riley. Riley, the senior out of California. Here's a guy, they said, you're not going to play a whole lot at Cal. Ended up playing 67 plays.
Yeah, they told him 20-something snaps. And here's Jason Gesser standing in, delivering the ball before Mike Patterson, number 99, knocks him to the turf again. They're hoping all those hits take a toll on him eventually, but they need to check history. Jason Gesser's had a lot of hits in his career, and he just keeps popping up and firing.
Nice mix of run and pass in this drive. Gesser, complete. Bush Another first down. William Buchanan on the coverage. The redshirt freshman and son of the great Willie Buchanan. Oh, we talk about Jason Gesser, and you know we've all heard about the billboards in Manhattan. He had his in Dusty, Washington. Population about 11. They keep telling us.
Give or take.
Yeah, give or take.
Depends on who's in town that day. Guess who for the Heisman?
I love it. On the ground, Tippins. He bangs his way close to the 40-yard line.
And what I like most about that story about them doing the poster at the grain place at Dusty is the respect athletic directors have for each other. Because Jim Sturck, the athletic director of Washington State, thought, you know, we don't want to make fun of our counterparts at Oregon. So he called Bill Moose, who's the athletic director of Oregon, and said, listen, we're not trying to make fun of you. It's just a campaign for us because Oregon has spent all the money in Manhattan for the billboards for their guys. And Bill Moose just laughed and said, great idea, go for it. That's a nice job of respect between member institutions.
I guess we've got some pretty solid numbers tonight. We'll throw it up one more time. Complete. DeVar Darling tiptoeing down the sidelines, and he's going to be short of the first down. Should be third and about a yard, maybe a half a yard. I'll tell you, Gesser has been impressive tonight because what we saw last week, he didn't throw that out with a lot of mustard on it because of the dislocated rib. Tonight he seems like he's got a little more velocity.
A little more velocity, and the other thing I've noticed too is he's such a great dart thrower.
Yeah.
You know, in other words, his timing is so precise. 1, 2, 3, boom, ball's already there waiting for the receiver. Then it takes less arm to get it there because you've already put it out there for him.
Washington State 0 for 6 on third down. Make it 1 for 7. Let's check in now with Aaron Andrews. Aaron?
Well, Ron, not only is Jason Gesser campaigning for the Heisman, but he's also campaigning for his job after football. Look out, Ron and Charles. Jason wants to be a sports commentator when football is over. We got our hands on his demo tape. He's actually a broadcast major, and last spring he worked as a news anchor and a weatherman on Cable 8, a campus channel. Now, he told me he doesn't like reading the teleprompter, so he would seem just fine up there in the booth with you guys. What do you think?
Hey, what do you mean he'll be fine? He looks great on the field. Let's keep him where he belongs, okay?
Let's tell you. Tippins, left side. He's trying to be a weatherman. The only job you can be wrong 75% of the time and still keep it.
Hey, what's Aaron trying to do to us?
I know.
Is she trying to tell us something?
Wait till my kids get through college. That's Spike Dykes' O-line, second life. He was a great former Texas Tech coach, wants to come back as a backup quarterback or a weatherman.
He's right.
Everybody thinks you're better than you really are.
He's right.
1:39 to play in the third quarter. The Cougars leading at 17-14. Jermaine Green with a 75-yard touchdown run in the backfield behind Gesser. Here comes a little reverse. He fakes it, keeps it, still on his feet, looking for a block. To the 20, to the 15-yard line, Jermaine Green. 17-yard pickup. That was all on his own effort.
Third gadget play. 2 reverses earlier, now it's a fake. Sean Cody, number 84 for USC, has the opportunity to end it right there. Misses the tackle. And then there's a second missed tackle coming up. Number 31, William Buchanan, loses his feet, goes to his knee. You got to stay up in a good football position in order to make the tackle. Sean Cody, number 84, was a freshman All-America. He's not going to miss many of these, but he did here. Jermaine Green shook him off and continued downfield. Washington State has something going.
Still feeling the loss of Troy Polamalu. Gesser again looking into the end zone, incomplete. Intended for DeVar Darling. And again, Gesser took a seat on the turf.
I thought he had him on the first cut, and it looked like he double clutched and held it, and then when he did, that attracted more attention. See how he pulled it down and then let it go? Before he was ridden to the turf by the D-line. And then next thing you know, you got 3 USC Trojans in the area. Probably fortunate it was just incomplete.
Kenichi Udeze decided to put the 280 pounds on him.
Every bit of it.
Yep. Second down and 10. You can see the pressures tonight. 10 hurries. 9 hits. Gesser being chased. Cuts upfield. Down to about the 11 to 10 yard line. Oscar Liu, the true freshman out of Indio, California, on the stop. That'll set up a 3rd down and 5 situation. Now, Mike Price, he took the blame the last time they were down in the red zone, and they didn't score. I wonder if he's thinking about that right now in the different play calling as Troy Polamalu is back into the lineup. No,
trying to help his squad out. Guaranteed that Mike Price remembers the play call. He told Craig Sager that going into the half. Wishes he'd called a different play. Notice now he has Gesser going under center in a solo set. 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers, 1 back.
Looking in the right flat, pass just out of the reach of Mike Bush. He stretched the 6'6" frame. He needed about 4 more inches, but that'll be the end of quarter number 3. Just like they did in the opening quarter and the start of the second half, USC scored, but then the Cougars answered. And as we head to the final 15 minutes, Washington State on top of the minute, Troy by 3. Let's take a look at our Gateway game summary. And as you mentioned, Carson Palmer having a good night tonight. 260 yards, has an interception, but he has thrown a touchdown. How about Green? Career-long 75-yard touchdown run, which has given the Cougars the advantage as we begin quarter number 4. Washington State going for the field goal. From the 17, the 27-yarder is no good. Dunning cannot believe it. He had hit his last 2 were 48 yards. This man's got a great deal of confidence in himself, and he just cannot believe it.
He talked with Aaron Price, who coaches the quarterbacks and the kickers. Said he's not your normal kicker. You don't have to worry about his psyche as much as the other guys. Looks like he missed it a little bit on the right side. He looks good once it passes the post, but you got 2 guys underneath the post looking straight up.
Yeah.
And they said, no, not good.
I think that's what Dunning was thinking, that it went over that right upright. Well, USC now with a chance. Washington State not taking advantage of an opportunity. As Kerry Colbert juggles the ball. That's the 5th drop on a Carson Palmer pass tonight.
Got to help your offense out when you have an opportunity. You don't see Kerry Colbert do that very often. So Carson Palmer hit him in stride. Colbert juggled it away.
2nd down and 10. USC has got to take advantage of this situation.
Yeah, this field goal should give them, renewed life on
Absolutely.
offense.
Washington State jumping around on defense. Carson Palmer in the flat, complete to Mike Williams. He fights his way close to the 1st down. We'll see where they mark him.
I think he got it.
I think he did too. Trufant had the first hit, and then Virgil Williams had to come over and help out.
2nd catch in a row for Mike Williams that he should have been dropped on the spot. Watch where he catches the football. Look at that. That's about the 26-yard line. Marcus Trufant should drop him right there. Doesn't do it. And he doesn't only just run through Marcus Trufant, but Virgil Williams has to hang on before a posse shows up to put Mike Williams down.
You don't want to compare him to somebody, but Charles, he gets that separation that Keyshawn Johnson used to have at USC.
Almost by osmosis, considering he's from Tampa, and that's where Keyshawn's playing now.
Keep it on the ground with Sultan McCullough. Cuts up over the 435-yard line to the 36. Ira Davis on the stop. All this telecast is a copyrighted presentation of Washington State University, a member of the Pac-10 Conference, the Conference of Champions. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent of Washington State University or the Pac-10 Conference. This is an absolutely beautiful sunset.
Wow. Love the Palouse. And we have been treated so well coming here.
Absolutely.
Hey, guys, this is another spot I could live. I tell you what, it is gorgeous here.
Located between the forests of the Rocky Mountains and the scablands of Washington. Pass is incomplete. Malaipu McKenzie, usually pretty sure-handed, cannot get it. See, there's pressure when you come to Washington State because, their famous graduate, Keith Jackson.
Of course. Plenty of pressure on us. The 7th drop pass tonight, speaking of pressure. Malaipu McKenzie running a wide receiver screen as a running back. Doesn't catch the ball as he came inside. Had a few blocks set up. Huge 3rd down for both squads. USC needs to have a drive sustained here. Running out of a tight set.
Third down and 5 inside of 14 minutes to play in the ball game. Carson Palmer lets it fly, looking for Pearson, backing out of bounds, doesn't get it. Virgil Williams was on the coverage. A lot of pushing and shoving going on.
For a lot of the game now, I've been calling for USC to push downfield a little bit so that they can have the underneath routes. But you notice how everyone was covered short? Washington State's defense flowed right to the 5-yard routes. By the time a receiver broke deep, it was too late. I think Norm Chow has to find a way to loosen them up by getting some guys deeper with a few patterns.
Good snap. Malone, a high spiraling kick. Henderson, fair catching it at the 15-yard line. Oh, they've got to get rid of that halo rule.
And boy, did he try? Harold Joe gave it an effort to try and break down and stop within 2 yards. He's going to get whistled for a penalty, and he never went ahead and launched and hit the guy or anything like that. You know, it is difficult to run 40, 50 yards hard and stop.
Listen to the call.
5-yard interference with a receiver foul on the kicking team. 10-yard penalty. See inside the belt.
See, our official has forgotten it's a 10-yard penalty now.
Yeah.
You know, he's calling it a 5-yard because there's no contact, but it's automatically a 10 now.
Well, the fair catch signal came late. Pete Carroll doesn't like it. His team trails by 3. 13:39 to play in the football game. Along with Charles Davis, I'm Ron Thulin with Aaron Andrews and Craig Sager. Pete Carroll may have a beef on that fair catch. That was awfully close.
Very tough call on the officials. Watch Darryl Rideau, number 22. He breaks down, tries to stop. So if he's within that 2-yard rule for the halo, the official has to call it. But I wonder about the fair catch call coming late also. Very difficult to tell. You know, right. Colin Henderson, that he's made a definite fair catch call. He just kind of waved his arm late. And that's hard.
Here's Craig Sager.
Well, here's a recap on Troy Polamalu. When he came into the locker room at halftime, the training staff told him to put on his street clothes, but the x-rays were negative. He then talked to Pete Carroll, who told us at halftime that he was in pain, but he hoped to play in the second half. The word is that the ligaments are solid, the x-rays are negative, the stinging pain is gone. He will go out there in goal line stands, but he does not have the mobility to run a long field, so that's why we don't see him out there now. Ron?
5 defensive backs. Excellent job, Craig. Pass incomplete, almost picked off. They were looking for DeVar Darling. William Buchanan got a hand on it. You know, there's a number of reasons why this is a big game for Washington State. Obviously, the Rose Bowl implications, but since 1995, Gesser and company, the Washington State guys, only 6-17 versus ranked teams. But when they're ranked, play a ranked team, they're only 1-5. They have to beat people like USC.
Yeah, last year they beat UCLA, and that was their one win when UCLA was number 9.
Well, our instant poll question is Jason Gesser the best Washington State quarterback of all time? 70% say no, but that time he was.
Want to count it again?
yeah, let's just do that again.
Do it again.
DeVar Darling on the reception.
So many great Washington State quarterbacks to count on. We saw Troy Polamalu, number 43, in that picture. He vacated out, going for coverage. DeVar Darling running the tough inside route. Ball was delivered perfectly. Darling knew he would take a hit. Snatched it and put it away. First down, Cougars.
1st and 10 from the 43, and the clock is obviously the ally of Washington State. They're going to keep it on the ground again with Jonathan Smith. He's tripped up close to the 45-yard line. That's the third head of this 3-headed tailback with Tippins, Green, and Smiths. Hey, look at the numbers, and he has a chance of really going up close to Jack Thompson.
Well, you know, coming into tonight in terms of total offense, he needed 301 yards, which would pass Brian Leaf and Drew Bledsoe to put him in second place in total offense. We see the passing numbers. He still has an opportunity, but look at all those guys that he played that were on that list besides him, all NFL guys.
Not too bad.
Pretty good up here in the Palouse.
3-step drop. Gesser's pass. Oh my, what a hit! And a penalty flag is thrown. Deshaun Hill lowered the boom on Bush. goodness. Hill, the senior out on Long Beach. We heard that up here.
Are they going to call helmet-to-helmet contact?
I think so.
Going up high? They want to protect receivers when the ball is gone.
Personal foul on the defense, 15 yards from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
Watch Bush. He's going to get to the outside here. Well, actually goes inside Buchanan because of where he was set up. And he's calling him helmet-to-helmet contact for the personal foul. Okay, I have a bias as an ex-defensive back.
I was waiting for this.
Because I think he's going through the man playing the football. Sometimes you inadvertently get up there, but they do put it in there for safety for the players. I have a hard time arguing against officials trying to protect players.
Another break for Washington State, straight ahead running. Picking up about 3 on the play is Jonathan Smith. Well, let's listen into this hit by Deshaun Hill. This is a denture check.
Oh my!
He knew it right away too.
You know,
but you gotta tell me this though, Charles. What's that feel like when you do get a lick in like that?
Well, you know, if you ask my coach, they'll say I never got a lick like that. But I'll tell you, it's invigorating. It's the best word I can use. And then you actually hope it pays off for you later, having a receiver look for you instead of for the ball.
Yes, the post fake, wide open, Bieneman. Inside the 5, down to the 1-yard line.
Jason Gesser, the number 81.
The true freshman, wide open, 36 yards on the reception.
Now this is the counter, Ron. Watch Bieneman going right up there. Boom, because everyone was looking out to the far right to Bush number 5. See, Gesser's throwing to Bush all the time. See the pump fake? Pumps it out all the way to the sideline. The defense moves to Mike Bush number 5. Troy Bieneman on the inside, running the seam route. Perfectly delivered. Washington State first and goal on the 1.
Well, Bieneman did not even have a catch coming into this game. He's got 2 tonight, and Mike Price wants to call the timeout.
And that's a good idea because this is a crucial sequence for Washington State.
And last week, Mike Price went 52 snaps without a tight end, even in the ball game. Now he's got a different weapon with Bieneman. Timeout, 10:33 to play in the ball game. Washington State knocking on the door. Now tonight's question comes from Chris Garvin out of Pullman, Washington. Do you think Jason Gesser is pro material? Oh, great knowledgeable one, Charles Davis, you tell me.
I think he has to get into the right system. He's got to get a guy that totally believes in him and will commit to him. That's very hard to do because he does not have the measurables. You know, he's 6 feet tall, 180-something pounds. But if you watch him play and watch his toughness, I think he's a guy who definitely merits a look. The hard part is he's not 6'5", 235. That's hard for coaches to absorb.
First and goal from the 1. Straight ahead, a little bit on the right side. Alan Thompson, nothing doing. The sophomore out of National City, California. His first carry of this year. Now let's see what Mike Price thinks of on play call.
Yeah, coaches talked to us yesterday about Alan Thompson, that he has the fresh legs, and he might be an answer for them in short yardage and goal line situations.
We've got a Washington State player down just on the goal line. I think one of the keys here, if you're Washington State, you could not afford to get down by 10 or 14 points to this USC team because of their defense. They have been able to stay within that 7-point frame. USC scoring first in the opening quarter, scoring first in the third quarter, but they've still stayed in striking distance, and they haven't had to play from that far behind tonight.
Yeah, and I talked with observers of Washington State football, people who cover them on a day-to-day basis and are always around, and they said the same thing to me, that they were afraid that Washington State's defense, if they got down about 10 points, they might not be able to stay the course because they didn't have the same leadership they had last year with a couple of guys. Remember the safety Thompson and the linebacker Rial Smith. So they were looking for that from them, and today they haven't had to do it.
Well, so far this drive has been an impressive one. 7 plays. They've gone 70 yards. Some of it on the arm of Jason Gesser.
Stephen, they asked the question about whether this guy's pro material. When you see him delivering the ball, the way that he delivers it, great hit by Hill, penalized on it, that kept the drive going. But see how smart he was, faking it to the outside, throwing it to the inside? I'm telling you, he's a guy who merits a look. You know, let's not just go by whether he's 6'5" or not. Let's not go by any of those stopwatch numbers. Is he productive when he gets in the huddle? Does he assume command of his ball club? As Sam Lightbody, number 75, comes off the field, the injured Cougar, we hope he's okay. But how about this? Jason Gesser is the first three-time captain in Washington State history. 3 times. He was voted a captain as a sophomore by his own teammates. That doesn't tell you something about a young man. I don't know what does. To me, that merits a look for him right there.
And because he's got the qualities of leadership.
Exactly. Give him an opportunity.
Going into the end zone, and it is going to be incomplete. Almost intercepted. Dangerous play. Mike Bush, the intended receiver, William Buchanan doing a nice job in that quarterback spot. William Buchanan looked a little lost in that Kansas State game. Not tonight.
No, he's growing up fast. You know, he has a great bloodline. His father was an all-pro. Willie Buchanan, the NFL with Green Bay and San Diego. Just as we extol the virtues of Jason Gesser, this is a poor throw. Ball's not up and over the top to give Mike Bush's 6'6" frame a chance to play on the ball. And here, if Washington State scores, William Buchanan will regret not making that interception.
4 wide receivers. Gesser, touchdown, Washington State. On the reception.
Ball was delivered perfectly too on the slant in route by DeVar Darling, and number 31 William Buchanan was on the coverage. This is where the coaches will tell him in film, when you have an opportunity to make a big play, make an interception, you have to do it. Wonder if Washington State didn't have enough guys on the field to have to take the time out and kick the extra point.
I think they had 1 too many.
Oh, they had 12.
I'm not sure. Here's a touchdown again.
See, Buchanan, again, retreats off of his first step. There's no reason to retreat there because the back of the end zone is actually your extra defender. You want the ball thrown over your head, not in front of you for the touchdown. We saw the same thing happen to him in the Kansas State game when he first came in. Tough play for the youngster.
Let's get an update on the Oklahoma-Missouri game with Ernie in the Big House.
They get a gain of at least 100 yards on the ground, and they've taken the lead away from Oklahoma, 24-23 with plenty of time.
My goodness. You know, it happens every year before the OU-Texas game. Dunning's extra point is good. Oh, he remains perfect. And with 10:03 to play in the ball game, the Cougars have their biggest lead of the game at 10, 24-14. Washington State has hung 430 yards on the #1 defense in the country. That's why they lead by 10, 24-14, 10:03 to play. Jason Gesser, the records keep falling here at Washington State. How about 2 more? TD pass in 18 straight games, a new record. And how about his 17th with more than 1 touchdown pass, also a new record.
And this is a young guy. The only record he's concerned about now, the Pac-10 title. Look at that, 196 total yards tonight. Now in 3rd place on Washington State's all-time list, just past Drew Bledsoe. He's a pretty good player.
That's not a bad player. I think he's got a future.
Yeah, but you know, when you talk with a young guy, all he cares about is the W's. 24-0 as a high school starting quarterback in Honolulu at St. Louis High. He just wants to get to the Rose Bowl and win the Pac-10.
Dennis, 5 yards deep, brings it out, explodes over the 25, fumbles the football, but I think the ground caused it because he was airborne at the 28-yard line.
Yeah, the line judge making a definite signal. You can break up the pile, fellas. It was down. He did explode through the hole. You see the kicker tried to upend him there.
Holiday.
It was a good call because watch as he goes airborne, and as he comes down, remember the ground can't cause the fumble. That's exactly why the ball came out. He hit the ground.
Now let's see how Washington State handles USC here in the final 9:49. Carson Palmer looking over the middle. Pass is complete up to the 40 to Kareem Kelly. You know, we looked at that first quarter of USC. Norm Chow was calling a lot of longer passes. It seems like since that time, most of the calls, as far as the passing game, underneath stuff 5, 6, 7, 8 yards.
I was wondering if they felt that they couldn't get deep because Washington State was retreating with their defensive backs. I also wondered if they were just trying to lull them to sleep. But they have not been able to get downfield, and now Washington State is sitting on all the shorter routes, making it difficult for Carson Palmer to throw.
Palmer's seeing a little bit of pressure, looking deep, has a man, incomplete, intended for Mike Williams. Looked like they may have grabbed his jersey a little bit on that. I think Marcus Trufant may have gotten away with a little reach out and touch someone.
As long as you stay in close and don't get really exposed to where your arm's extended, you can get away with a little grab every now and then. And Marcus Trufant was inside kind of the body frame of Mike Williams. But I like what Norm Chow just did because of what? You see right there, right in the inside part there. He might have gotten a little bit of jersey. But I like what Norm Chow did because he took a shot downfield.
Right.
Hopefully that'll loosen up Washington State a little bit, make them respect him a little bit more.
2nd and 10. Carson Palmer looking for McKenzie. And it is complete up to about the 32-yard line. That is a pretty touch pass. Pickup of 28 on the play. That shows the talent of that young man, Carson Palmer.
Yeah, it's now Genatone, number 48. The linebacker was running with Malaifu McKenzie. That's a mismatch. Running back on linebacker. Beautiful throw by Carson Palmer. It's what they called man-free coverage. Everyone locked up man-to-man with a free safety over the top. The free safety, Eric Coleman, unable to get there in time to help.
Remember the Kansas State game where USC came back and even had a chance to tie things up. They've got the potential to do that. Keep it on the ground with Fargas. Davis coming up from that middle linebacker spot, the senior out of Oakland, California. Number 58, what a great story. Here's a young man that went to New Mexico State, actually played football there, decided to come here, had to walk on, and just got his scholarship this Tuesday.
Yeah, and remember, he walked on as a senior.
Yeah.
I mean, he played those 3 years before that at New Mexico State in Las Cruces. Came here for his senior year, and now he's one of their leading tacklers.
2nd and 5, looking for Williams. Pass is complete. They'll mark it at about the 19-yard line. That'll be good for a first down. Big Play Saturday keeps rolling after the game with Matt and Cherie at the Movie Bowl. Post-college living advice. Then Mel Gibson, Danny Glover teaming up for Lethal Weapon 4. That's after the game on the Movie Bowl, only on the TBS Superstation. And thank you. You have to get home and watch it.
That's right. 5 wide receivers, an empty set. No backs in the backfield.
Palmer looking over the middle. Looking, throwing, incomplete. Penalty flag is going to be thrown. Threw it into coverage. Virgil Williams was on Kerry Colbert, and I think Williams had the push.
This is a heck of a gamble by Carson Palmer, but he threw it because his receiver was being held. He wanted to expose the call because as soon as he threw it, he started motioning pass interference. Watch.
Pass interference on the defense. 15 yards from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
And watch Palmer. See, he's already motioning it. Pass interference, because I was wondering, why is he throwing the ball there? It seems as if he's covered. But he saw the coverage was so tight that it was interference. Took a gamble, calculated one. That's a 5th-year senior.
That's a heady player.
Guiding your team, and now he's got 1st and goal on the 5-yard line.
Now Williams to the near side, I formation. They keep it on the ground with Fargas looking for the corner, nothing doing. Inside the 5, down to about the 3-yard line. Eric Coleman coming up from that free safety spot, the junior out of Spokane, Washington. First time we've called Coleman tonight. He's one of the leaders in the backfield. You can see the drive already 69 yards, less than 2 minutes.
Gain of 1 yard.
Yeah, aided big by the pass interference call 2 plays ago. Again, empty set for USC.
McKenzie and Kelly to the left. Pump right, looking. Palmer's got Tater. Touchdown, Trojans.
3-yard touchdown by the quarterback, Carson Palmer.
That is a solid heads-up play.
71 yards.
There were a couple of them in that drive by Carson Palmer.
You usually don't give much emphasis to an extra point, but this one's huge because he makes this one. Now it's a field goal game, 3 points. He misses it. USC needs to stop them and score a touchdown.
Colleen has not missed one this year. And he still has it. Well, Carson Palmer looked to the left, and it was wide open field. And the touchdown has pulled the Trojans within 3, 24-21. Say today is the place for a comprehensive look at sports. Get all the latest scores, stats, standings, and game recaps to keep you up. Craig Sager, Aaron Andrews, I'm Ron Thulin with 7:54 to play in a ball game. USC that's won 6 of their last Pac-10 games dating back to last year. Pulled within 3 on a Carson Palmer scamper for the touchdown. It's 24-21. Now things get interesting.
You'd like to see a big kickoff here from Ryan Colleen if you're USC. Give the USC defense an opportunity to work with a long field.
Well, he's 5 yards deep.
That ought to do it.
That should do it. This opened up so wide for Carson Palmer.
But notice his vision and his patience. Fakes it once, looks for his receiver, able to pull it down because Kareem Kelly was covered, as was Malaifu McKenzie. And then when he saw the open area, he sprinted to it and got there.
And you know what, that touchdown, too, this is the first sellout in 5 years in Martin Stadium. It has quieted the crowd completely, much different than it was in the first 30 minutes of this football game.
So that shifts the pressure back to Jason Gesser and the Washington State offense to give them something to cheer about again.
Needs to fire him up, and he's going to come up throwing. Pass overthrown, incomplete, intended for Mike Bush. Not even the 6'6" Bush could come up with that one.
Now he's fortunate there because it cleared Mike Bush and fell into an open area that was harmless. Could have very easily been picked off. Marcel Allman, number 8, was in the area for USC.
You can see their production. How about 430 yards tonight? This is against a defense that was giving up about 205. They're averaging over 7 yards a play. That is impressive.
Came into the game averaging 6.6 yards a play.
Second down and 10. Inside of 7:45. Gesser wants the home run ball. Has a man. Caught by Darling. No, they said he stepped out of bounds. Well, he was juggling it. William Buchanan got up immediately and said no catch.
Let's see what William Buchanan does, because it appeared that it was going to be a catch by Darling. Buchanan doesn't react to Darling's arms going up, but at the end, see how he pulls and strips? Nice play by the freshman. Right there, see how he gets his hand, his left hand's on the ball. No possession has been established at that point. He kept pulling and digging and yanked it out. I think it's an excellent call by the officials. Possession had not been established by either guy. Incomplete pass.
Half a hand away from establishing it. Gesser's pass incomplete. Penalty flag is going to be thrown. Pete Carroll goes running down the sidelines and onto the field.
Yeah, he's wondering about the guy making the call because the body really shielded it.
Holding on the defense of an eligible receiver. 10 yards, automatic first down.
Get this shot here from Allstate on our goalpost cam. Watches the play develop, because as they go downfield, watch to the inside. Yeah, I think, the official was kind of on it, because Marcel Allman was riding him the whole way.
Yeah.
Had hands on him the whole time. The good hands were in the wrong spots, right?
We want to thank Allstate for providing tonight's goalpost cam. Allstate, you're in good hands. Jermaine Green. Good legs. Well, another break for Washington State, and Pete Carroll can look up at the clock with 7:15 to play and just hope he gets the ball back.
Still plenty of time, but they would like to get a 3-and-out here at worst. Now, of course, a turnover is preferable, but a 3-and-out here and get the ball back with plenty of time to run their offense, not have to worry about, hurry up in 2 minutes. So you see the rushing yards tonight, keyed by Jermaine Green, 75-yard sprint. Washington State has 202 yards running the ball.
USC still with all their timeouts remaining here in the second half. Gesser, complete. Riley. Now to Ernie Johnson at the big game house.
Ron, let's update Oklahoma and reclaim the lead from the Tigers. Back to you.
I tell you what, Chuck Long's getting a little gutty in his old age, isn't he?
Yeah, well, Bob Stoops, okayed that call.
That's right.
So talking about two guys being gutty there makes you wonder how they feel about their defense having to go for a touchdown there instead of kicking the field goal.
Now Washington State keeping it on the ground with Jermaine Green. He's going to lose a couple on the play. Clock now closing in on 6 minutes left in the ball game.
The last pass that Jason Gesser completed to Jerome Riley, it's a beautiful route. As we see the guy signaling in, view the backup quarterback, they use 3 of them to signal. One of them is live. We saw that in the super shot, 3 different quarterbacks. And they keep changing who the live guy is during the quarter, during the different possessions, all that so that people can't pick off their signals and know exactly what they're calling each time.
Gesser, here comes the blitz, look out, lets it fly right as he gets hit. And the pass is incomplete, intended for Mike Bush again. Deshaun Hill coming up from that free safety spot, the senior out of Long Beach, California. Put the pressure on Gesser again.
Look at this. Number 81, Bieneman, trying to get downfield. Look to the left of your screen.
No way.
Kanechi Udeze. All right. He's the guy who was holding him the whole way. Right there in the middle. It was a zone blitz. So the defensive end was actually covering the tight end. And he said, I got to get a little help on this play and grabbed his jersey.
That'll work.
Got away with it.
Boy, Palomalu back into the lineup for USC. They go over the top. Intercepted. Jason Leach at the 47-yard line, and that's where he'll take a seat.
Intercepted by number 27, Jason Leach. Tackled by Mike Bush.
Dangerous pass by Gesser. Only his 4th interception of the year.
There's the turnover that USC had been striving for, and now you're in a position for Washington State's defense what a lot of programs call sudden change. How do you handle it when we've got the momentum going one way and back to the other? Jason Leach playing for Troy Polamalu, the All-American, his 2nd interception of the year, over the top in man-free coverage, where the safety's able to pick the spot and just blows to the ball. Big interception.
Carson Palmer getting the same opportunity he did at Kansas State a couple of weeks ago. Scrambling, throwing, completing down to the 25-yard line, Kerry Colbert, but we have a penalty flag back at the 43-yard line.
It's usually a hold.
That's what it is.
And I thought that he had gotten himself out of trouble with the help of Sultan McCullough, number 4, with an excellent block. Watch as Palmer starts to scramble. Look to the right side of your screen. He gets out of the pocket and throws.
Holding
McCullough
on the offense. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay first down.
McCullough had given him an excellent block to the inside, but they must have detected one of the linemen holding in the interior.
That is the 10th penalty against USC tonight for 103 yards. 6 for Washington State. 5:13 to play.
Another empty set in the backfield.
Palmer flushed out of the pocket, looking for somewhere to go with it. And he goes into his bench, and Palmer is ushered to the ground, and the USC coaches want Isaac Brown to get a flag thrown at him. Drove Palmer into the turf.
Referee right on the spot. No one wants to see their quarterback hit, but the referee pointed. He was inbounds when the tackle was launched. And a good play by Carson Palmer, just throwing it away, not throwing it up for grabs. But you got to come back to my point from before. USC is running routes that are short and underneath. And Washington State's defense is sitting on them and sitting on them and sitting on them. He has nowhere to go with the football.
Carson Palmer has thrown for over 300 yards tonight. 2nd and 20. They bring 4, throws it out on the flat to McKenzie. Gets up to about the 44-yard line before he's ushered back. Now let's take a moment to take a look at tonight's all-state good hands play. We actually have had a couple tough to choose from, but we'll go with Mr. Bush. On the fade for the touchdown. That's our all-state good hands play for tonight. 4:36 to play in the ball game. Inside of 4:36. USC, all their timeouts remaining, facing 3rd and 12, trailing by 3.
This is 4-down territory. If you don't get it here, you got to think about going for it on 4th down.
Carson Palmer going deep, has a man. Williams got it. Touchdown, Trojans! Touchdown reception to Mike Williams, the longest of his career.
3rd and 12. The USC receivers knew they had to get at least a 1st down, and on this one, Mike Williams, the one guy running the deep route and running against the best cover guy for Washington State, Marcus Trufant, who made a play on the ball, but Williams was all over it, and I believe he missed the extra point.
He missed the extra point. Oh my goodness, that would have made it a 4-point game. Now the Cougs trail by just a field goal. His first extra point missed this year for Ryan Killeen. And it also looks on that touchdown that Eric Coleman bit on something, the free safety. He looked like he was trying to help Trufant, and then he kind of moved forward.
Well, I've talked about them sitting on the shorter routes and watching the short receivers. Mike Williams was the only deep receiver in the pattern. So when Eric Coleman is watching, he's thinking, well, they haven't run too many of these deep balls before. And then all of a sudden, don't know why he was looking back at the ball and not running to the receiver. But once Williams got behind, he took the ball away from Trufant. And Carson Palmer feeling very good about himself and his team. A huge play at the right time. And now it's a 3-point ball game. But see, Williams is the guy who just runs the long route. Everyone else running shorter versions. And boom, right down the middle. And again, Trufant made a play on the ball.
Yeah.
He was right there in position, just didn't get it done.
It looks like they bid on the pump fake by Palmer. Now, anyway, it was a great pass by Carson Palmer on the touchdown, 55 yards. But if you're Pete Carroll, you look up and you say 4:10 left in the ball game with a Mike Price team. That's an eternity.
Jason Gesser at the controls, big time.
But they will be going against the wind, but it's not much right now as it has been. This kickoff out of the end zone. Washington State 1st and 10 from their own 20. TBS Big Play Saturday brought to you by 4 minutes and 5 seconds left. Washington State trailing USC by a field goal. Gesser, plenty of time, now flushed out of the pocket. Dumps it off to Colin Henderson. The clock will run. He gets up to the 25, pickup of 5.
USC, you would think, would be talking about going in with 5 and 6 defensive backs, but the way their linebackers run and play, they don't need to pull them off the field. Now, number 6, Grudegood, is a strong safety who's been converted to an outside linebacker. He only weighs about 210 pounds. He can run. Champ Simmons can run as their outside linebackers. They want to keep good players on the field.
5 wide receivers. USC brings 4. Gesser's hit. Throwing deep. Has a man. Caught. Sammy Moore down to the 20.
Sammy Moore was brought in from junior college to be a kick return specialist. But he can fly, and he beats William Buchanan, the freshman corner, on a deep, but it's really not a post, it's more of a seam route. A great throw by Gesser on the money. Nice catch by Moore.
53 yards, 3:18 to play. Vintage Mike Price offense. Already within field goal range. They're keeping it on the ground. Tippins has stood up, and he'll lose a couple. Mike Pollard, the big middle linebacker out of Long Beach, California, on the stop.
You know that long pass does, besides obviously change field position and put Washington State in good shape. They only have one timeout left. It kind of takes the timeout situation out of their hands.
Right.
Makes things a lot easier as we look at the quarterback comparison tonight. Palmer's aired it out 50 times. That old run-pass balance, gone for USC.
That's toast.
Gesser, we would expect that from. Palmer, no.
Almost 700 yards through the air. Gesser passes incomplete. Intended for Jerome Riley. The fans want a flag. They're not going to get one. 3rd down and 12 from the 23. Drew Dunning kicked a 48-yard field goal early in the game.
Champ Simmons, number 51, trying to make a play on the ball. Fans thought that he might have wrapped an arm around Jerome Riley, but the officials determined that he did not. And now USC pulls the linebackers off the field. Polamalu comes into the game, number 43. Rideau's in the ball game. Almond, they've gone with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 defensive backs.
And 5 wide receivers. Gesser throws complete. Inside the 20, down to the 19 to Colin Henderson. Pick up a 4 on a play. We'll set up a 4th down and 8. And Drew Dunning is going to come in. Dunning, the junior. Last year he was money. He was 16 for 16 inside the 41-yard line.
Remember how he won the job, 93% of his kicks in preseason, to take the job from other guys that people thought would win it. Does Mike Price fake it here? I think he goes ahead and kicks it. The USC should allow him to do so. They have to guard against the fake.
35-yarder looked like it was tipped, but it's good. To quote Charlie Waters, I'd rather be lucky than good. The ball looked like it was tipped at the line of scrimmage.
I believe it was.
Yeah. Look at the
Turned it into a knuckler. Phil Negro would have been proud of that one.
Drew goes, I'll take it. That could be the priceless reaction, you know?
Had it all the way, didn't we, guys?
No problem. Well, we still have a minute and 60 left to be played in this football game, and we are now knotted at 27. A 48-yarder, a 35-yarder. He thought he hit the 27-yarder. Doesn't matter now. But it belongs to Carson Palmer and Pete Carroll's offense. Now nobody has left the stadium, that's for sure.
I'd have to take the pulse of anyone who did.
Telling you.
What are you thinking? But you know, if you're Pete Carroll right now, you're not happy about giving up the tie.
No.
But aren't you happy you got your hands on the ball with a minute 50 to go? You kind of get to decide your own fate with Carson Palmer, quarterback?
Absolutely.
Now this is where, as a kick return team, whatever you do, you don't make the mistake that Washington State did earlier, fumble a kickoff return, and you have all of your timeouts.
Adam Holliday drilling it. Sultan McCullough inside the 5. He is going to be corralled at about the 18-yard line. Big Play Saturday is presented by T-Mobile and Discover Card. We are at Martin Stadium in Pullman, Washington. Number 18 USC, number 17 Washington State. Charles Davis, Craig Sager, Aaron Andrews. I'm Ron Thula with 1:44 left. USC, Washington State tied at 27. USC all 3 timeouts. Williams and McKenzie wide to the left. Palmer Going to be swamped back at the 10. Ryan Long, the junior, coming up with the sack, his first of the evening.
He's the guy who collapses things in the middle. Jeremy Williams, number 95, came from the left side, occupied a couple of blockers. Long defeated his man. A huge sack. The second time he's gotten in tonight with big-time pressure on the quarterback. Could not have come at a better time. For USC, you have all of your timeouts, but you have to be careful turning the ball over here.
60 seconds left in the game.
Might be thinking overtime
I think you're right.
Just by that play call. They were hoping that if it popped, then you might run different plays. But since it didn't, now you might want to just tuck in and go turtle. Pull it all inside the shell, right?
Go turtle.
And think hard about it. You know, pull the head in, the arms, everything. Turtle up, because now Washington State would be out of timeouts.
Jason Gesser can only sit and watch. Timeout with 46 seconds left to be played. Just a reminder, Matt Schreier still standing by at the Big Game House for the Movie Bowl. Danny Glover, Mel Gibson, and it will be Lethal Weapon 4 only on TBS Superstation immediately following this game tonight. What a great night of football here at Washington State. Next week, don't forget, Texas Tech at Iowa State. Iowa State off this week. You can see what Carson Palmer has done on third down. That is called clutch throwing.
Last time they went deep with Mike Williams for a touchdown on a 3rd and 12. Let's see what they decide to do in this situation. Remember, they ran the ball on 2nd and long in a situation that many people thought they would throw the ball. See Norm Chow circled right there, the offensive coordinator, deep in thought, discussing possibilities, I'm sure, with Pete Carroll and other offensive staff members about what they should call here in this situation.
USC trying to open up the season 4-1 for the first time since 1998.
Did you notice Pete didn't have his headset on there?
No.
I guess Pete said, I trust you guys
Let's
to
go
make
for
this
it.
call.
3rd down and 18. This better be simple. But the Washington State Cougars out of timeouts.
Again, an empty set.
He's going to keep it. Got some running room to the 25, to the 27-yard line. That'll be about 1.5 yards, maybe 2 yards short. Carson Palmer gave it everything he could give it. And with 31 seconds left, the clock continues to move, and that'll set up 4th down. And really, they haven't reset the play clock yet, so they don't have to run another play.
And just go out there and line up and don't do anything.
That's right. I think that's what they're going to do.
And that'd be the smart move, because you don't want to take the opportunity to let Washington State rush your punter and block one and get it done here before the game's over. Go ahead now. You've played for overtime by your play calling.
That's right.
And here it is.
Both teams heading to the respective sidelines, and we are headed to our first overtime of the year. Now, Pete Carroll's squad, they needed to come back from 10, and they did just that. Ryan Long with a timely sack. But what an offensive showdown tonight. 509 yards for Washington State, 462 for USC. But it doesn't matter. Throw all the numbers out the window.
Ready.
Don't forget the field house is open after the game for the 5th quarter rally. Get a prime rib dinner for just $12. Catered by Pete.
Well, in college football, the coin toss so important. Let's take a look at the overtime rules. Each team gets equal possessions with the ball. Start at the opponent's 25-yard line. Retain possession until they score or fail to make a first down. And if there is a 3rd overtime, both teams must go for 2 after the touchdown.
And they will have a coin toss to determine who gets the ball first. Because
play away, play the play, but damn it, you hang out with that quarterback for the bullshit doing that. You know what I'm saying? Okay?
Now you heard him say, stay with the quarterback.
Alert screen, that ran over.
a lot of coaches action going on the sideline for both of these squads. It's Bill Doba, the defensive coordinator for Washington State. They had to match wits all day long with Norm Chow. But now you have the coin toss, all right? You win the coin toss, you get a chance to defer. But most teams, when they get it, they choose to play defense first, so they know where they have to match.
Call it, and then whoever wins the toss can't defer will have a choice of offense, defense, or which end of the field you want to play at. Okay? The winner will get that choice. So who's going to call it? Number 10's calling. What are you going to call? I'm going to call tails. There's your tails. There's your head. Tails has been called. And it is heads, so you win the toss. You want to be on defense. Which end of the field you want to play at? Okay, you're going to be on defense, so spin around this way.
Well, Mike Price got what he wanted.
Washington State won the toss. They've elected to play defense. University of Southern California has elected to play at the east end of the field.
Overtime, straight ahead. USC, Washington State. Don't touch the dial. We have had a number of big plays. We have the interception by Southern Cal. And then Williams with the touchdown. And then the other big plays. Sammy Moore, 54 yards. And then the field goal that tied the game up from Drew Dunning. And we are heading to OT, tied at 27.
Dunning's really getting tipped here. He just knuckled all that one through.
I thought I heard the tip from up here, to be honest with you. Because if it was, that was one ugly kick. If it wasn't tipped.
I'm telling you, I said before, Phil Negro would have loved that one. You know, had that baby dancing like crazy on that knuckler.
No style points in field goal kicking.
Now, listen, when you look in the books, that looks like the most beautifully kicked ball ever, right?
That's right. Well, let's talk strategy right now. USC will have the ball first. They'll get it at the 25-yard line. Washington State on defense.
And Washington State comes out in base defense. Their normal 4-3 look, 4 defensive backs. USC shifts to the I formation. It's the days of yore.
Pearson moving over. They give it to Sultan McCullough. Maybe picks up 2 on the play. Wally Davis blowing a sneaker on that, putting it back on, and Pete Carroll now will have play number 2.
Yeah, and they trot out Pearson, the fullback, and Cream Kelly, and bring on McKenzie, number 21, as a dual threat as a runner and a catcher. Going back to the empty set. 5 receivers in the pattern.
McKenzie wide to the left. Palmer looking for some help. Drive down at the 30-yard line. Ryan Long. His second sack of the night, the 4th by Washington State.
Coverage sack. Why? The secondary really snuffed the receivers, and Palmer had tried to pump a couple of times, had to pull it down, and Long was able to get to him. A good job by Palmer putting it away so that Long could not strip it.
Now it brings up a 3rd and 14.
That young man has come along very strong as the game has continued.
Kareem Kelly wide to the left. Colbert on the near side. They're going to keep it on the ground, and they're going to lose yardage again. That puts the field goal a long one. They lost another 4, maybe 5 on the play. That'll be a 52-yard attempt, maybe 51.
Ryan Long once again doesn't just play the pass, plays strong on the run. Watch the middle of your screen. There he is, number 88. Guy who was a basketball player in high school, never really thought much about football until someone talked him onto the field.
Yeah. And they're going to call a timeout. Yes, USC calling the timeout. Ryan Long, a couple of big sacks late in the game, especially here in OT. It's 4th down, 19 to go. Ball's on the 34-yard line, so that would be a 51-yard attempt by Ryan Killeen. His longest is 43 coming into this game.
No punting here.
No, no.
Because you've got to use your possession.
Now let's take a look at our U.S. Army's player of the game, and what would you expect? How about Carson Palmer with 49% of the votes, Jason Gesser with 54%. Smart choice by our fans.
Yeah, they're nothing if not knowledgeable.
That's right. This is it.
If you're Washington State, you just don't want to get a penalty for running into the kicker here.
Malone holding, Killeen, 52-yarder. Does it have it? No good, off to the right. Now the #1 defense that came into this game ranked #1. It's up to them. Looking at it again.
This one never had a chance. From the word go. Pushed it right. Never really close to being on target.
Never hooked it.
Would you say it was 43 was as long before?
Yep. Here's Craig Sager.
Well, people may be wondering where David Davis is. He was the #1 kicker for USC in the entire Pac-10 percentage-wise last year. He lost his job in the Kansas State game when he was inconsistent. Then in practice the other day, he was injured. And right now he's been replaced by Ryan Killeen, who had a big chance right there and missed it. Meanwhile, David Davis back home.
That's right. And now from the 25. Tippins in the backfield. Straight ahead running up to the 22-yard line. Now, here's that case you were talking about. You run a couple of plays, keep it in the middle of the field, then you kick the field goal?
I think you kick the field goal on 3rd down because USC has had their possession. So you don't have to worry about them getting another possession. You don't need 6, you just need 3. Kick it on 3rd down in case something goes wrong with your snap or the ball's blocked and you get possession again. Then kick it again on 4th down if necessary. But keep it in the middle. Make sure Tippins runs in the middle with 2 hands over the football. No fumbles here.
And he gets inside the 20 down to about the 17-yard line. Let's see what Mike Price does.
So
Drew Dunning is waiting.
I wouldn't hesitate. I'd run him out there right now and get this thing done if I'm Washington State. I would not run it down to 4th down.
And he's not. Dunning, one of the most confident players on this Cougar team. Already with a couple of field goals tonight, he has a chance to win it.
USC has run Mike Williams into the game. #1 right there. He's 6'5" receiver, hoping he can help block it in the middle. Try and get a running jump.
35-yarder. Game over. Coach. USC had won the last 6 games here in Pullman, but he's off the schneid now, courtesy of Drew Dunning, the junior.
And if you're going to ask Mike Price at the end of the ball game what it was like in the 4th quarter, you know what he's going to tell you? We were just couging it, man. Just couging it. His term for good plays, good pace, and tonight, a big win.
And the Rose Bowl is still on the horizon for the Washington State Cougars. A big win for Mike Price, the 2nd winningest coach here at Washington State. A disappointing loss for USC. USC next week will be home to host California. Washington State will travel to Stanford. We'll be back to Pullman, Washington. The Cougars win it in overtime.